Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 38462 for a quote Outsurance where you always get something out. Everyone's looking forward to Black Friday deals, but there may be an easier way to save, and it's not just a once-off saving. Simply SMS out to 38462, and if Outsurance can't beat your current car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash or even 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. That's a monthly saving on your premium or cash promise. SMS out to 38462. You've got nothing to lose. SMS now. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.9 FM in Port Elizabeth.
Muhashi wa ntokoto na vutshila wena masusa xivundza mayi rito eka lava ri pfumalaka rito leri hangalakeke na misava hinkwayo ri haxa mbewu ya vutlhari xana imani a nga ku miyetaka ke imani a nga miyetaka mpfumawulo wa rito ra ku ke 326 yi tshama yi ri etindleve eka SAFM hikuva u yi phamela swakudya swa miehleketo hi dya yi tlhela hi xiva ndzi ri halala Aldrin Sampear halala wena la tselekiweke eswitikweni swa vutlhari a katingiwa etimbiteni ta vutivi a swekiwa hi galaza ra vutshila loko ri mina ntombi ya mutongo n'wa xambula makutlo wa madyafu la ri la tsundzuka n'wana hi ku heta ndzi ku hluvulela xihuku ndzi ri kula u ringana na ndlopfu halala Aldrin Sampear halala.
Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
It is 8 minutes after 3 o'clock. Good afternoon and welcome to Beyond the Headline with me, Aldrin Sampear. Thank you so much for choosing us this afternoon. We're with you from now up until 6 o'clock. It is, what's the date again today? Let's see. What's the date again today? Who knows what the date? The date is the 17th, which means it is the president's birthday. So happy birthday to the president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa. He turns 71 years old today. So maybe you have some birthday wishes that you'd like to share for the president. Coming up on the show this afternoon, we in conversation with Mohammed Desai, who's the director for Africa for Palestine, and this is following a decision that has been taken by a retail giant Woolworths to take off the shelf one of the products that they source from Israel, and they say in the statement that it is a preemptive move because of the threats that they have received, and they are trying to protect their staff members as well as their customers. We'll be speaking to Mohammed Desai about this decision that has been taken by Woolworths, and this, of course, as the Israeli-Hamas war continues. And then at 3:20, we speak to Moses Kunyuku, who is a Malawi government spokesperson. So Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera has announced austerity measures that are aimed at stabilizing the country's ailing economy, which includes, amongst others, that government officials, ministers, would not be making any international trips. So Moses will be joining us to explain exactly what it is that President Chakwera wants to achieve with this, and also looking into how practical it is. And then at 3:20, we speak to SABC News reporter Justice Chipalana, who is a reporter on the Phala court case. The 3 suspects that were arrested in connection to the Phala theft at the president's home back in Phala farm in February 2020. They have now appeared before court. 2 of them have now been granted bail, one 5,000 and the other one 10,000. So we speak to Justice to give us an update around that. And then at 4:10, we speak to Claire Taylor, researcher of Gun Free South Africa, as we look at the quarterly crime stats that have been released by the Minister of Finance. Sorry, not the Minister of Finance, man. The Minister of Police, Peggy Cele. These stats indicate that there has been a slight decrease in murders compared to the previous quarter, 0.7% decrease in murders. However, though, when you look at vigilantism, it has now become the second contributor to the murder stats in the country, even below robbery. So that conversation is coming up a bit later on. And then at 5:10, it is the bonding session. And today, my co-host is Khanyisa Bunu, who is a comedian. So she'll be joining us in studio. So buckle up and make sure that you are safe and sound where you are, because when Khanyisa joins us, things might just become hilarious. 0614-104-107, your tweets at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
Food aid for more than 500,000 refugees who have fled from the Sudan to Chad will run out next month without extra funding. This is according to the World Food Programme officials. This report has been compiled by Reuters' Alice Rizzo.
Without extra funding, food aid for more than 500,000 refugees in Chad will run out next month. Pierre Honorat is Chad's country director for the UN agency.
By December, there is no more assistance. We have no more. So we really need an urgent funding for this crisis. It's urgent because we need time to purchase the food, to bring the food on the site, to bring the food at the border, and to make sure the people will get at least a meal a day.
The International Organization for Migration says that more than 540,000 refugees have crossed from Sudan into Chad since war erupted 7 months ago between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Many have fled from West Darfur, where ethnically driven violence erupted again this month in the state capital of Al Janina, pushing thousands more to flee. Those who have arrived this year joined refugees and displaced people already in camps in Chad, where Honorat described conditions as extremely hard.
We need $25 million every month to assist, to provide a meal a day to those roughly 800,000 people that we are trying to serve. Out of those 800,000 that I'm mentioning, you already have the 600,000 that just came, that have really nothing. Plus, at least we need to support 200,000 of the ones that were already there. This is very key, because now those people arrive in a place and we cannot just forget the other one.
#SAFMBTH.
It's 13 minutes after 3 o'clock. We're in conversation next with Mohammed Desai, who's the director for Africa for Palestine. So civil society organizations supporting the struggle of the people of Palestine have welcomed recent steps taken by Woolworths to not stock Israeli products. Africa for Palestine says the move demonstrates Woolworths' commitment to being a socially responsible corporate citizen. We're now joined by Mohammed Desai, who is the director for Africa for Palestine. Mohammed, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. It has been years of demonstration, years of memorandums that have been sent to Woolworths, and now this decision that has been taken. What's your interpretation of it?
Thanks, Aldrin. I think that a message of support, a message of encouragement really must go out to the supporters and members of the public and the various communities that supported the campaign over the years. The campaign was launched in 2014 with a very specific goal that those products that Woolworths was sourcing from Israel must come to an end. Those products slowly reduced in numbers, and until this year there was one remaining product, and as per the communication from Woolworths, that now has been removed, and so we are celebrating this. We are celebrating it both as a commitment by the people that have supported the campaign, but also as a decision that is a step in the right direction for all corporates to take note of.
Yeah, a decision in the right direction. However, though, in the statement that was released by Woolworths, it says that despite reports commending us for taking a pro-Palestinian or anti-Israel position, we have not. Woolworths would like to explicitly affirm that we neither support nor boycott anyone. Woolworths has no political affiliation and does not support any political party, organization or country. And it goes on to say that the move actually is a preemptive move to safeguard their customers as well as their staff members following the threats that they've received.
Sure, and I think that Woolworths will try to spin this in this way or that way, but in this case, actions speak far louder than words. And the fact is, and the fact remains, that there are today, as we speak, no Israeli products within the shelves of Woolworths stores. And so, for us, this is an achievement of the very goal that we set out. Whether Woolworths is wanting to put a certain narrative to it, that's up to them.
What's the next move, do you think, in relation to applying a pressure on the Israeli government? I don't know how far this particular move goes, because here we're speaking about a retailer, but of course it is a retailer that stocks from Israeli companies.
So, Aldrin, I think that it all combines and it's all a collective effort. And so, on the one hand, you have the South African government that has downgraded relations with Israel. On the other hand, you have the private sector. For example, between July 2022 and July 2023, we've seen a decrease of 18.3% of Israeli imports into South Africa. Generally speaking, with the way in which we can apply pressure on Israel to end its human rights abuses and to end its violations of international law as a human rights organization, we believe that this will be through a tactic of isolation, through a tactic of boycotts, and through a tactic of sanctions. And so we're going to be continued to being asking other companies, firstly, to adopt similar positions of not stocking Israeli products, but also calling on government to take a firmer stance in terms of its criticism and condemnation in action against what Israel is doing.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Mohammed Desai, who is the Director of Africa for Palestine. What do you make of this move from Woolworths to pull these products? It says at least there was one product on its shelves that it stocked from Israel, and it has now taken this decision to pull that product off the shelves. It says that, as always, the safety and well-being of our employees and customers is our top priority, given the significant and credible threats we have received, and in order to do our best to safeguard our employees and customers, we took the decision to preemptively suspend the sale of the one product we had on our shelves that was imported from Israel. 0614-104-107. You can also drop me a text at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032.
Tune in for a conversation on diabetes on Afternoon Express. We're joined by physician and endocrinologist Dr. Jocelyn Hellig to unpack the common symptoms and risk factors of this disease. Plus, we look at how to manage diabetes through lifestyle choices with dietitian Kath McGaw. That's Afternoon Express this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3. Repeat Sundays at 8:30 a.m.
Open the Absa Cash Invest Tracker account and earn the best rates in the market, more than the top 10 money market funds' average returns. Enjoy unmatched advantages at an interest rate of 8.9% per annum. Plus, if you open your account today, you could win your share of 15 million rand in luxury travel experiences for two. Yes, you heard right. A trip for you and your partner. My bank does that. Open yours today in less than 5 minutes on the banking app at your nearest Absa branch, or consult your private banker or call 0860 111 515. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of lights being switched off to reduce the impact of load shedding. Eskom is encouraging you to use less electricity at all times by switching off electrical appliances and lights that are not in use. Cell phone chargers, TVs, and decoders still use electricity if they're not switched off at the socket. You see, if we all switch off what is not in use, our combined effort could help reduce the impact of load shedding. Let's work together by switching off to reduce load shedding.
It all comes together with a great partnership.
Thank you for demonstrating that indeed you are proudly South African.
Africa Bora witnessed a great Rugby World Cup France 2023 because of your incredible support.
Great friends, great prize, and great sport.
Asibonge Casalaga. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
So, by the way, what are you doing this weekend? What are you doing on Sunday? If you are free, you can come and join us at Mapungubwe National Park. If you are free, Mapungubwe National Park in Limpopo. So, SFM is giving away double tickets for you and a partner to join the Beyond the Headline team in Mapungubwe National Park this coming Monday. So, you arrive on Sunday. You spend the day, the evening with us, spend the Monday also with us, and then we depart on a Tuesday. And this is all courtesy of SANParks. So to stand a chance to win, please send us a WhatsApp text message to 0614 104 107 with the hashtag SAFMBTH and the answer to the following question. What countries border the Mapungubwe National Park? What countries border the Mapungubwe National Park? Please note that you will need to be able to transport yourself to the national park. If you are able to make it to the national park and you're free this Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday morning, feel free to come and join us. If you want to win the double ticket, all you have to do is SMS or rather send a WhatsApp text to 0614 104 107 with the hashtag SAFMBTH and the answer to the question, what countries border the Mapungubwe National Park? What countries border the Mapungubwe National Park? And of course, this has all been made possible by SANParks. So we will be announcing the winner just after 5 o'clock. So if you want to come and join us, do exactly that. Hashtag SAFMBTH and the answer, what countries border the Mapungubwe National Park? You can drop us a WhatsApp to 0614 104 107.
Hashtag SAFMBTH.
Let's take your voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Case, the three suspects. Good afternoon, my captain, the team, the hostess, and our beautiful listeners. My name is Nhlanhla. I would like to wish my president, Mr. Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, a wonderful birthday. May you see many more years to come, and you see the second term as the president of South Africa. All the best.
The only talk radio afternoon drive show that makes sense. Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear, right here on SAFM.
It's 23 minutes after 3 o'clock. We're in conversation next with Moses Kunukuyu, who is the spokesperson for the Malawi government. So Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera has announced austerity measures that are aimed at stabilizing the country's ailing economy. As part of the measures, the president has cancelled all international trips for public officials, and we understand that the measures will be in place until the end of March next year. Moses is now joining us on the line to explain the rationale behind this decision. Moses, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. So why has the president taken this decision, including cancelling his trip to COP28?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. As you might have heard, that our economy has been going through hard times. Our currency has been misaligned with the other major currencies for quite some time. There has been some cosmetic solutions being put forward for to try to address this malaise, including maybe mispresentation of figures, so that we seem to be having some good forex reserves, which was not the case. So it has resulted in us failing to import most of the major commodities like fuel, fertilizer, and others. So this prompted the government to re-engage in talks with the International Monetary Fund and other development partners. And it has resulted in us looking at the necessity for the kwacha, the currency of Malawi, to be adjusted accordingly, hence that devaluation. And obviously, as you know, resultant of any devaluation like this one, there is suffering that is there amongst the people. Their ability to afford basic needs is affected because maybe the salaries remain the same or their earning remains the same while the spending demands a lot. So at such a time, you also need to see the political leadership leading by example. So what the president has done by cancelling his own trips and also banning other international trips by ministers or other public officials is a way of showing solidarity, a way of showing compassion with the people of Malawi, because he understands that even while he travels, there are some costs that are borne by the public, although they might be beneficial trips, but a display of compassion with the people also gives them the comfort that we are into this together. That is why the president has brought about these measures.
Yeah, and as you say that it's some cosmetic attention that is being given here. I don't know, how far does such a particular measure go? How much is it that the country would be able to save, and how? I don't know if the Reserve Bank have spoken to the president as yet, that if such a move will actually lead to an increase in the Reserve Bank's reserves when it comes to foreign currency, especially the US dollars.
The president has made it clear that these measures are going to be in place at least until the end of the financial year, which is somewhere in March 2024. The projection is that there will be huge savings, but also there will be the protection of the forex that we earn. Attached to the president's...
Hi, Moses, are you still there?
They were... Yes, I am
sorry,
here.
We lost you there for a second. You said attached to?
Attached to the president's directives, there is also the measures that were announced last week by the Minister of Finance. The aim of all this is to ensure that we recover from coming from, but also to protect the currency and of protecting the forex that we earn by making sure that we close all the loopholes through which that takes place through uncharted routes, but also forex being there on the black market, which has been a very lucrative market. So all the control measures that even the Minister of Finance did announce in collaboration with the law enforcement agencies will see to it that the forex that we earn is protected. And this will mean people can now trade using the formal market.
Okay. How much, though, do you expect to save?
We can. The Ministry of Finance and the Reserve Bank have not really pronounced themselves as yet because there have been the announcements from the minister. That was a few days ago, and then 2 days ago, the president also brought in other measures, and the minister did undertake that when he is presenting his midterm budget review statement in Parliament in the next few days, he will also announce further measures. So I believe it would be fair that we do that quantification after we have appreciated the content from the initial minister's presentation, coupled with the president's directives, and also the additional measures that the minister or the other measures that the minister is yet to include in his address to Parliament in the next few days.
Okay. So does this particular decision affect all government officials, or is it just particularly the executive? So does it trickle down to local government as well?
It does, because even the president in his address, he mentioned it specifically to say this includes the parastatal organizations. All these, should there be any need for them to travel outside the country, they must seek clearance from the president's office. But also all the meetings that we hold locally, they will have to get clearance from the top. That is what he has said. As for him, he's not traveling, as he announced, and for cabinet ministers, including those that were away at the time of that announcement, had to return home immediately. So henceforth, all those who are to attend any international engagement will have to seek clearance not only from the minister, as has been the case before, but this will have to be cleared in the president's office.
Okay. Can you just quickly explain, and I know that you say that the medium-term budget policy statement is coming up from the finance minister, but the president also saying that that the pay-as-you-earn income tax and incorporate a reduced percentage in the new budget he presents to Parliament in a few months, so that workers whose incomes have lost value in devaluation are helped with a lower tax burden. So does that mean doing away with pay-as-you-earn income tax?
I'll leave that for the Minister of Finance. There are quite a number of qualifications, or rather further explanations that he has to give. So we wouldn't want to delve into the in-depth of the statement itself that the President issued because, as I said, it's three-phased. It's the Minister's address, the President's address, and the Minister's address again to Parliament. So we would want to leave that to then so that those explanations or that further clarifications or explanations can be given, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. That is Moses Kunukuyu, who is the spokesperson for the Malawi government on the decision that has been taken by Lazarus Chakwera, who is the president of Malawi, and saying that all government officials are banned from traveling outside of the country. This is guess on the ticket of the expense of government coffers. This is the decision that has been taken, but to what extent, and also considering all of the international meetings that happen sometimes. But as people have said, then why don't we do a Zoom meeting instead of meeting in person? It's a minute after 3:30, time for the news headlines with Ann Musa. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Aldrin. In the headlines, the Office of the Auditor General says there were no findings against it by the Zondo Commission. It says instead the office was lauded for its work in entities such as SAA, Denel, as well as PRASA, where it provided clear insight at the very critical moments. Agnes Sitswanso, who was arrested in Gauteng on allegations of murdering a relative in order to benefit from insurance claims, has appeared in the Molopo Magistrates Court in the Northwest. And the temporary shelter where victims of the Marshalltown fire have been moved to has been described as inhumane. The victims were relocated from the Hoflands Recreational Centre this week to an industrial area in Denver in Johannesburg with no access to water or electricity. I'll have details on these and other stories at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
And a traffic update with Rob Byrne. Good afternoon.
Yes, a bit of traffic on Pretoria's N1 North. There's some lane restrictions up by Rigel Avenue. Got Friday volumes in the mix, so delays as far back as sort of John Foster Drive territory in Centurion. Heavy backlogs if you're driving from King Shaka International Airport down into Durban. The first is a breakdown between Sabaya and Gateway, so one lane open. That's a very heavy queue. Once you get through that, you're back in some traffic from Queen Nandi Drive down to a crash just by Inanda Road. There's also a breakdown on the N3 inbound at Spaghetti Junction amongst the roadworks. So coming in from Pavilion Mall. That is quite busy. Cape Town, again, another busy day off the South Peninsula with queuing traffic from Fishhook all the way through to Cork Bay on the main road. The R300 going into Mitchell's Plain, busy towards Stock Road and AZ Berman. That's as you come in from the N2 and the Delft side. And roadworks have been on the go all day today on the N1 into town at Woodstock, just by Lower Church. That's causing a big delay from the Coburg interchange and badly affecting the run-in on Marine Drive through Pardon Island towards that N1 on-ramp. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Kapele.
And she's back in studio.
I'm back with a bag.
Peli look welcome back.
Thank you.
So some great news looking at the CAF nominees.
Yes, some great news, especially for the likes of Al Ahly star Percy Tau, who is one of the 10 nominees for the CAF Interclub Player of the Year award. Now, Tau is nominated alongside Mamelodi Sundowns striker Peter Shalulile and goalkeeper Ronan Williams as one of the 5 nominees for goalkeeper of the year, while Sundowns have also been nominated for the Club of the Year award. They will compete with the likes of USM Alger, Wydad Casablanca, Young Africans and Al Ahly of Egypt. Still staying with football, Bafana will host Benin in their opening 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier at Moses Mabhida Stadium, and looking at their group, which has the likes of Benin, Rwanda, Nigeria, Lesotho and Zimbabwe. A better goal difference could be key. Unlike in CAF competitions where head-to-head separates teams tied on points, FIFA first considers goal difference. And ahead of tomorrow's game, Bruce says that he's very wary of putting his team under unnecessary early pressure.
It's important, goal difference. We know it from last World Cup qualifiers. Yes, but I don't think you can start a game. Certainly not for these 2 games, and thinking, okay, we have to score as much as possible. Okay, we have to score as much as possible. And if we can win with 3-0, it's better than with 2-1. But this can be the main goal of a game. The main goal has to be to win it. So when you can win 2 times, you have 6 points. And then what the others do, that's their problem.
On to rugby, the Sharks have been boosted by the return of Springbok centre Lukhanyo Am for their first home game of the season against Connacht tomorrow, as the only player amongst the Springboks who have been released to return to action for the Sharks as the Durban side face their third Irish opponent in 5 weeks. The Springboks starts at outside centre with Francois Venter retaining the captaincy and shifting to inside centre. Then the only other change to the backline sees the return of Cohen Bosch to fly half after he recovered from a concussion. In motorsport, Mercedes faces the prospect of the 2023 season being its first winless season in F1 in 12 years. When the ground effects regulation switch was introduced last year, Mercedes struggled to replicate their success at the start of the hybrid era with the flawed zero side pod concept. Now, F1 is now in a period of dominance for Red Bull and Max Verstappen with 19 and 17 wins respectively from the 20 races so far this season. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has been firm in his belief of F1 being mediocrity and that it's not going well for the team.
There is the team principle in me that dreads the race because it's totally different to what our car likes. Long straights, we are too slow because we are too draggy. It's cold in the night when we race and our car likes heat. We are just not able to have the right tire grip in the cold. So the team principle, the kind of narrow-minded racing person says that's going to be really difficult. But as the CEO of the team, fantastic. I mean, we are already in Miami. Austin has been super strong and loyal since the beginning, but coming here, seeing the track, the event itself that has been put up is very exciting.
Meanwhile, Sachin Tendulkar was in unfamiliar territory yesterday. The Indian cricket great dropped in on golf's DP World Tour Championship in Dubai. He was shown how to putt by New Zealand's Ryan Fox. Now, Tendulkar's record of 49 one-day international centuries was surpassed on Wednesday by fellow countryman Virat Kohli as India claimed a place in the 2023 men's World Cup final.
It's been a great experience for me because I've not met any of the golfers earlier, and this experience has kind of, the putting technique, which Foxy told me, never tried that before. Wouldn't be a bad idea to try that because with cricketers, the first thing you want to do is, use your wrist.
That's it from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour for SAFM Sport. I'm Tumin Kapele.
Ford is turning 100 and there's never been a better time to buy a brand new Ford. We're giving away 100 vouchers worth an amazing 50,000 Rand each and the sensational grand prize of us paying for one lucky winner's Ford. It's the celebration of the century. Visit a Ford dealer, buy a new Ford and win. T&Cs apply.
So Sharon officing was telling me the way drip is so expensive these days. She's now waiting for her old clothes to come back into fashion. I say, Joza, while you're waiting, why not let your money do the things in a Nedbank Just Invest account where you can get your money after 24 hours notice? Oganchani voiceman.
Injalo, Mabel. Earn up to 9% interest. Anyone can open an investment account via the Money app in under 2 minutes. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's on the interest rates apply.
The grass will suffer more when JVWFC confront University of the Western Cape ladies. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Third place JVWFC are looking for maximum points to get closer to second positioned UWC ladies. But the Western Cape institution want the highest possible marks. Witness the queens of the beautiful game, JVWFC versus UWC ladies, the Sunday 19 November at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. # we love it here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM invites you to our inaugural public lecture, delivered by the former Chief Justice, Mogoeng Mogoeng.
Life is full of challenges, and when they come your way, learn to whack your way through it.
Yeah.
My father and my mother were highly disciplined people. I remember him saying, I have decided to deny myself whatever others are enjoying, to accumulate enough money so that any of my children who wants to study would have the resources available to study so that they don't have to suffer the way I have had to suffer.
The lecture will take place on the 29th of November 2023 at the SABC M1 Studios in Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
Let's take your voice notes on 0614-104-107. You can also drop me a call on 086-000-2032 and a voice note on 0614-104-107. Coming up, when we come back, we're in conversation with Justice Shipalana, who is SABC News reporter. We look at the case of the 3 people who have been arrested in connection to the 580,000 Rand US dollars that was stolen on the president's farm in February 2020. Just think about this, by the way. If Arthur Fraser didn't lodge the complaint against the president, against the people who he alleged were involved, of course he makes, he says it's 5 million US dollars that was on the farm. Do you think that this story would have ever come to light? Considering when he lodged the complaint, which was over 2 years after the incident took place, and now you have an arrest that has taken place, but also you have the confirmation from the Revenue Service as well that the $580,000 that was brought into the country wasn't declared. 0614-104-107 and an X at Aldrin Sampear.
Good afternoon, Mr. Aldrin Sampear. You're speaking to Spesihle Zwane in Danauza, KwaZulu-Natal. I would like to wish the Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, a happy birthday, and I wish him more years to come. Lead us, my president, lead us. We are yours as ANC members and as South Africans. Thank you.
Hi, Aldrin Sampear. My name is Delani Gumere in Durban, a proud volunteer of the African National Congress, and also being a member in good standing for this organization for more than 20 years, voluntarily so. I would like to take this opportunity to wish our president a gracious and a positive health. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa. We wish you well, Mr. President, and we are guaranteed you as a volunteer of the ANC that we'll make you president. We'll give you another task in 2024. Thank you so much, Adrian.
Yeah, and indeed, happy birthday to the president. He turns 71 years old today. Let's go to Victor, who's joining us from the Northern Cape. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. How are you?
I'm well, Victor. How are you doing?
Thank you, man. Loving your show. It's always a pleasure to listen.
Thank you for choosing us.
Yeah, actually, Aldrin, I don't have much facts here, but when you mentioned something that Africa for Palestine.
Yeah.
But I would really actually go further and say Africa for Palestine, Africa for Israel, Africa for humanitarian. Let's not choose side. I think our country is taking the wrong turn now, when they want to close the what do you call it? This offices of
the
Israel.
embassy.
The embassy, yeah. I think they are too much in a hurry to do such a thing. Because you know what, the reason I'm saying this is I'm a Bible-believing Christian. And we know that it's not that I'm condoning what is happening there, the war, and that innocent lives, blood are spilled and so forth. But we should pray and say that let God intervene, because even in Palestine, we have brothers and sisters there who also, are victims. They've fallen victim to this war. So, but taking this stance for our country, I think it's a dangerous stance, because in the Bible, I know your audience is mixed. Not all of us believe in the Bible, or not all of us are Christians. But I believe that the Bible is the Word of God, and God says that everyone who turns against His people, definitely they will be cursed.
Yeah.
So our country is already in such trouble, when it comes to our economy and the crime and something like that. So now alienating or withdrawing from Israel, it's actually it's not right. We should rather pray and say, Lord, please intervene.
But the prayers, have they been working since 1956?
No, we must continue to pray. We must continue to pray.
So you can continue to pray, but have the prayers been working?
Okay, but
the destruction that we've seen and the level of destruction that we have seen, which I sometimes I'm a believer in Christ. Well, I was socialized that way as well. But what if sometimes actually when you do pray, because we are, as we know, and what we are taught, that we are made in the image of God, is that God is actually speaking through our leaders and saying that these are the decisions that I think that you should be taking to try and find a solution to the devastation that we're seeing in Israel as well as Palestine, so that we do actually find a lasting solution. So action must actually be taken, because that's what you pray for, right? You pray for action to be taken. So when God then speaks to these individuals and say that this is what I feel, or this is what I think you should be doing, what do you think about that?
I hear what you are saying, but I don't think we should really withdraw from Israel.
Okay.
We need Israel more than they need us, to be honest. Okay.
Victor there from Northern Cape.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. 0614-104107. You can drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
#SAFMBTH.
We have the most cynical politicians you'll ever find in the world. When it comes to the president's own money, people have been arrested, prosecuted, and most probably will be punished. But when it comes to the Zondo Commission and those who are corrupt and those who have stolen money, nothing is going to happen. And I wonder why people like Julius Malema make so much noise about Zondo. If he knows he's so innocent, why do you worry about what Zondo says or does?
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
Well, we're off to Limpopo next. We speak to Justice Shipalana, SABC News reporter. So the Bila Magistrates Court in Limpopo has granted bail to 2 of the 3 accused who were arrested in connection to the break-in at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Parapara farm back in February 2020. The court found that it was in the interest of justice to release both accused on bail. However, though, the formal bail application of accused number 1, Emanuela David, will be heard next month. Justice now joining us on the line. Justice, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. A slight delay in the start of the court proceedings due to load shedding, but then tell us what happened.
Indeed, and greetings to you and your listeners. Indeed, there was a slight delay today before they could resume with the court proceedings due to load shedding, but immediately after the electricity got back, the magistrate started with delivering the judgment on the bail application of the 2 Joseph siblings, which is the 2 Joseph siblings. So they began with delivering the judgment on them, and the magistrate indicated that it is worth noting that the 2 have been cooperating with the law enforcement, in that the brother who is the accused on this matter between the two Joseph siblings, have been granted a 10,000 rand bail, and part of his bail conditions is that he must not leave Umtata or visit any other place outside Umtata in the Eastern Cape without informing the investigating officer on the matter. You must also understand that as part of their bail condition also involved that they must hand over all their passports to the investigating officer in this matter. But when we started, when she delivered the judgment, the magistrate also indicated that it will be in the interest of justice if the two accused are released on bail. But at the present moment, the third accused, who is Emanuela David, was unable to get his bail since he could not make his bail application last week because his attorney was not present in court. We are told the state will be opposing his bail application on the basis that he is facing an additional charge of money laundering.
So now that the two have been released on bail, we know that his bail application is coming, as you explained, next month. But what do we know about how he is going to plead with regards to this particular case? Earlier on, I'd spoken to Pimani Baloyi, who had said, at least with the other two, they have argued that they deny the allegations that have been made against them.
It is true. The two have been maintaining their innocence all along by saying that even through their affidavits read out in court, their legal representatives said that there's a possibility, as this case is proceeding, there's a possibility that they might be acquitted from this case. But with regard to the third accused in this matter, Emanuela David, he also intends to plead not guilty because he will be making his formal bail application next week in December on the 6th.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. That is Justice Shipalana, SABC News reporter on the Parapara matter that appeared before the court. Three people that have been arrested in connection to that February 2020 break-in on the president's farm where $580,000 US dollars were stolen. 0614-104107. You can drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline. SFM invites you to our inaugural public lecture, delivered by the former Chief Justice, Mogoeng Mogoeng.
I reflected on the lives of these men and said, Steve Biko could have been a medical doctor. Aubrey Mokwape, they could have been medical doctors, but for the sake of me and many others, they chose a path of justice. What challenges me all the time is there are multitudes out there who are unemployed, who are uneducated, people who from time to time go to bed without food. This is an opportunity to use this privilege, to use this position for the advancement of the cause of justice, because there is so much more that still needs to be done out there.
The lecture will take place on the 29th of November 2023 at the SABC M1 Studios in Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
#SAFMBTH.
Good afternoon, Sam Aldrin, the Victor from Northern Cape. I think he must learn the history of in South Africa, really. And apartheid in South Africa, those who are supplying the gun from the Israel. And you cannot separate Palestine and the South Africa, really. And you must learn in history where the apartheid South Africa, they used to get for financial, the gun and the weapon. It is through to Israel, really. And most of the DA money and most of the elite white people, they are connected with Israel. I mean, they don't help South Africa, really. So they just... You must learn the history. I mean, you cannot separate South Africa and Palestine. They are together. As long as Palestine is not freedom, South Africa is not freedom, really. That's what he said, former President Mandela.
Hi, good afternoon, Aldrin, and your team. Flores here from the Western Cape. Aldrin, I just hope that the siblings and their co-accuser of the Pala theft would just come out with the exact amount that they allegedly had stole. And I don't think that any of this would have come to light if Arthur Fraser. By the way, where is Arthur Fraser, Aldrin? Yeah, if Arthur Fraser hasn't spilled the beans. So yeah, I think this thing, Cyril thought that he had it covered, that it was swept under the carpet, but no, someone came and pulled the rug under him. Sorry for the pun. Have a good job. Bye-bye.
Let's go to Mpumalanga. Khotso, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. Good afternoon to the listeners of SAO.
Aldrin,
man, we have a serious problem here on the end for Libobo border post to Maputo. This problem started last week, Thursday, Friday, on the Maputo side, whereby the authorities started to block the South African trucks after the offloading at the Mozambique harbor. When we asked them, guys, why are you blocking us? Because there is no queue that is going out of South Africa. They saying to us that that's how we implement this law, because the South African border post, they don't want to work. Then we're saying to them that, so why are you fighting with us? You don't go and make any recommendation to all those who are irresponsible for the people, the customs. Then they saying to us that this problem is a long overdue, and South African border post, they don't want to fix this problem. So that then this thing escalated. As you see yesterday, the truck driver, the Mpumalanga transport, they employ the taxi operator on the N4 to control the traffic that is going to Libombo border post. Then those people there, the taxi operators who are deployed by the Mpumalanga transport, they harassing the drivers, the truck drivers.
The truck drivers.
Yes. In which way? That there is a language that they use there at the queue. They call it kakata. Kakata is a meaning, it's a overtaking. So if the driver, they kakating each other, they blocking the road. Those taxi driver, they coming and they flat the tire of the truck driver. We want to know who gives them the authority to do so on the N4. Since yesterday started out getting out of order by doing what? While those taxi operators, they harassing the truck driver. Even if the truck driver is standing alongside the road, is sleepy, just not to block the queue for the driver to move. Those taxi drivers, when they come, they wake you up, then they flatten your tires. They say that you were kakating, you were overtaking the other trucks while you are standing aside the road.
Yeah. So what do you think the solution is? Because earlier on, one of our reporters was actually saying that 2 taxis, if I'm not mistaken, were also satellite. So it means that this thing is escalating. Oh, shucks, we lost Khotso there. Yeah, one of our reporters actually was saying that 2 taxis had been satellite because of what Khotso is speaking about here on the N4. If you are in the area and you know about these incidents, please do get in touch with us as well and tell us about what you know about this kakata. Dwaisa is joining us from KZN. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Adrian, and how are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Good man, and good afternoon to the SAFM listeners. Quickly, Adrian, I just had a chance actually to precise yesterday to have a listen at the recent keynote address by our Chief Justice on state capture. And I found absolutely nothing wrong on what he said, on each and every word uttered. And I just fail to understand why there is some noise from other quarters like your Kasek and other people who are actually not happy with what he said. I just couldn't find anything. As a matter of fact,
Yeah,
I
because
find
the thing is
very
that it delves into
encouraging.
politics, as they were saying, and also remember the remarks that he also made. For instance, the example: does he have it as fact that the Gupta brothers, that state capture actually started before Polokwane, and the Gupta brothers were involved there? Is that as fact, because it's not in his report?
Even though,
Is it in his report?
Yes, no, I take that, but
You see, so but those are the problems. Those are the
Yes.
issues that people are raising. So the majority of what he said, you could say that actually he makes some good points, because after all he was the chairperson of the Commission of Inquiry. But when you delve into politics, that's where the red flag starts to go off.
Raised.
Yeah. Dwaisa, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we need to go to the news. It's 4:00, and Musa is standing by. Good afternoon.
Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
In our top stories, Auditor General briefs Parliamentary Committee and July unrest accused face terrorism charges. Good afternoon. The Office of the Auditor General says there were no findings against it by the Zondo Commission. It instead says the office was lauded for its work in entities such as SAA, Denel as well as PRASA, where it provided clear insight at the very critical moments. AG Tsakane Maluleke briefed Parliament's Committee on the Auditor General on the implementation of the recommendations of the State Capture Commissions. Maluleke says the Commission recommended our office should also take over those state-owned entities it was not auditing because of its track record.
The Commission also highlighted a preference for AGSA to take on more and more of these state-owned entities because the track record we had been able to demonstrate was one where we were involved, there was a much better audit and much clearer insight in terms of the state of accountability, transparency and performance in those institutions. So part of the strategy that we set out and what we've been implementing has been to take on these audits, but also to improve the oversight on the ones we've not yet taken over.
Agnes Sitswanto, who was arrested in Gauteng on allegations of murdering a relative in order to benefit from insurance claims, has appeared in the Molopo Magistrates Court in the Northwest. The NPA spokesperson, Henry Mamutame, says she's charged with murder, fraud and defeating the ends of justice. He says the case has been postponed to the 24th of this month for a formal bail application.
Her court appearance relates to the fraudulent policy that she registered one of her relatives prior to allegedly murdering her in order to claim money from the insurance company. The body of the deceased had to be exhumed in order to establish the real cause of death. Meanwhile, the state intends opposing her bail application, while the police are currently investigating other family deaths with the possibility of having additional charges against the accused.
The temporary shelter where victims of the Marshalltown fire were moved to has been described as inhumane. The victims were relocated from the Hofflands Recreational Centre this week to an industrial area in Denver and Johannesburg with no access to water or electricity. In August, a fire gutted a 5-story hijacked building in the inner city of Johannesburg. 77 people lost their lives, with hundreds of others left displaced. The Johannesburg Fire Victim Support Group visited the area this morning. The 65 alleged instigators of the widespread July unrest in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal in 2021 will be tried on terrorism charges in the Durban High Court. The accused have been arrested in a large-scale operation by the Hawks since 2022. The indictment has been handed to the accused in the Durban Magistrates Court when the case was transferred to the High Court. They are facing 8 charges including terrorism, incitement to commit public violence and contravention of the Riotous Assemblies Act. The KwaZulu-Natal NPA spokesperson Natasha Ramkisson-Kara.
The 65 accused that appeared in court today, the reason for their appearance was for the state to provide an indictment to the accused. That was done in court today. The state has provided all the accused by way of their representatives with the indictment. And the matter will now be moved to the High Court, where we will obviously move to High Court proceedings, pre-trial, and then at some stage trial. So the matter was remanded to the 30th of January 2024 for the accused to make their first appearance in the High Court.
Ramkishan Kara elaborates on the new charges the accused are facing.
Note in the indictment that the state has added further charges in addition to the conspiracy to commit public violence and incitement to commit public violence. The state has added charges of terrorism, sedition, as well as attempted murder. So in terms of the state's case, we're going to put our best case forward. As mentioned by the magistrate in court, the evidence is, the investigations are huge. You know, there's lots of investigations to undergo, and the evidence as well. It's just voluminous. So the state is going to put its best case forward, and hopefully justice can be achieved in this case.
And as international philanthropist Melinda Gates is expected to be the main speaker at the 13th Desmond Tutu International Peace Lecture in Cape Town this evening, we look back at some of the peace lectures that took place. During the 8th Peace Lecture in 2018, President Cyril Ramaphosa told a packed audience there will be no peace without equality and there will be no reconciliation without justice. He explained why a doctrine of peace had to be associated with Tutu.
Honor of the outstanding work that Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu has contributed in raising our consciousness as a people and as a nation about peace. We should develop what I would call a doctrine of peace that should guide us so that we can acquire and give full meaning to what peace should really mean in our own country and indeed in the world.
Recapping the top story, the Office of the Auditor General says there were no findings against it by the Zondo Commission. It instead says the office was lauded for its work in entities such as SAA, Denel as well as PRASA, where it provided clear insight at the very critical moments. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
In your sports, Athletics South Africa determined to bounce back in Paris Games. Titans look to build on momentum against Lions, and Everton deducted 10 points for Premier League profit. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
And on the roads for Friday's drive home, we bring news of a collision on Joburg's N3 South at Linksfield Road. It's about the third or fourth collision in this area today, but it's already backing traffic up beyond Modderfontein and back towards London Road in Alex. That's a delay on your way through to Gillies. The M1 in Pretoria, Friday volumes jamming between Botha Avenue and Rigel Avenue. Of course, there are some roadworks on that section. When we last spoke, Durban's N2 was under a bit of pressure. The collision scene at Inanda Road going south has been cleared, but the breakdown before Gateway is still there. So motorists driving from the airport stuck in a big queue from sort of the Schlote exit. Just a single lane to work through. And Cape Town looking generally okay. The busyness is really in the city centre. The elevated freeway is queuing up over the foreshore, and Bayton Truck is again on a heavy jam leaving the CBD towards the elevated freeway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
It's about a little more than just an X on that ballot paper. It's about South.gov knowing what I want, where I'm going, and who I want to take with on this journey. To me, it's not just a vote. It's my democracy. I own it. So show up and register for what you stand for. From Giyani to Umlazi, Pitori to Matatiel. Bring your green barcoded ID, smart card or temporary ID certificate. Stations open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 18 to 19 November 2023. Or register online by going to elections.org.za or call 0800 11 8000. It's your democracy. Own it. Brought to you by the IEC.
Hello, Michelle. Hope you're well. You know, I'm not very lucky for online internet shopping things after Uncle Donnie got a second loan on his house to pay for some escort in Portugal's child to go to university. But listen, I'm addicted to this We Buy Cars auctions. Every day you can buy cars. My finger is jikkerig on the smells. I'm going to click anytime now because I want a fancy fast car. But my husband is making me so moeg. I'm sommer listen auction him. I nogal wonder how much I will get.
We Buy Cars, the best place to buy a car by far.
The grass will suffer more when JVWFC confront University of the Western Cape ladies. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Third place JVWFC are looking for maximum points to get closer to second positioned UWC ladies. but the Western Cape institution want the highest possible marks. Witness the queens of the beautiful game, JVWFC versus UWC ladies, the Sunday 19 November at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
10 past 4. 10 past 4. Bah, bah.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
It is 10 past 4. Coming up on the show in this hour, we're in conversation with Claire Taylor, who is a researcher at Gun Free South Africa, as we look at the quarterly crime stats that have been released by the Minister of Police a bit earlier on. And then after that, we also speak to Dr. Simon Howell, who's a research associate at the Centre of Criminology at the University of Cape Town. If we've seen that vigilantism now is the second highest contributor to murders that we've seen. There has been a slight decline in the murder rate, 0.7%, but also looking at the stats of vigilantism or mob justice, is those numbers there being concerning. And remember that the Gauteng Provincial Police Commission has also been raising this issue as a concern, seeing the number of vigilantism incidents also escalating. And then at 20 past 4, we speak to Malik Dasu, who is the organizer of Extinction Rebellion in Gauteng. Today, actually, Sasol was supposed to have its annual general meeting, which was then disrupted by this group that are saying that Sasol is slow in reaching its targets when it comes to lowering emissions, and they are saying and they are demanding that they want to breathe clean air. So that conversation coming up a bit later on. 0614-104107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
It is 12 minutes after 4 o'clock. In conversation next with Claire Taylor, who is a researcher at Gun Free South Africa. So earlier today, the Minister of Police released the crime statistics for the period of July to September 2023 in Parliament. These crime statistics account for the second quarter between July to September. In the period, 6,945 people have been murdered, indicating a slight decline in the same period, the previous year. However, though, the firearms still remain a leading weapon used in administering murder. Claire Taylor now joining us on the line. Claire, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. Any takeaways for you from these crime stats?
Thank you for the opportunity, Aldrin. Yes, I think that there are two takeaways. The first was that even though there's been a decline in the murder rate, a very slight decline, in fact, the number of people that are shot and killed increased. In previous quarters, it's ranged between 30 to 31 people a day. In this past quarter, it's increased to 34 people shot and killed every day in this country. And then the second takeaway was just how shocking it was to hear the police and MPs gloss over the weapon being used, that there was just no outrage, that there was no acknowledgement of the fact that firearms are the leading cause and increasing cause of murder in this country.
Yeah, and you say the second part is
that there was just zero
right.
shock or engagement or acknowledgement from MPs and SAPs.
So what I've also found a bit weird, and I don't know if you've seen what's been happening on social media, is an increasing number of videos that we are seeing of young people and actually brandishing firearms and sometimes automatic rifles. It's almost become part of the norm, which says to us that these children also feel comfortable doing it, but it also speaks about an issue around socialization and how society then responds to this violence, because it is also seen to be cool.
Exactly. So you're right. There's a normalization, there's a glamorization of firearms. But to also say that we need to look as well at the gender of victims and perpetrators. So in the latest crime stats, we can see that it's young men who are killing other young men in arguments. And so the motive is also important. And when we put in the gun, which is designed to kill, what that means is that these arguments between young men escalate into murders. And so we really need to take urgent action to remove the availability of guns and stop this glamorization and normalization of them. And that means two things from SAPS. The first is we have repeatedly called for specialized firearms units to be established to recover and destroy illegal guns in this country. There's a massive pool of illegal guns. And those guns are outside of any control, and those are the weapons that are most likely to be used to commit crimes. But at the same time, we have got to stop licensed guns leaking into the illegal pool. In South Africa, the biggest source of illegal guns is licensed guns that are held by civilians and by the state. And we have to tighten controls. And that means bringing the amended Firearms Control Act to Parliament to address loopholes in the law. And that also means ensuring that we have an effective central firearms registry that can track every single licensed gun from cradle to grave. Neither of those has happened, and we're calling on government to take urgent action on both those fronts.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, actually, that the motive is quite important, and we see that even if we look at incidents of violence and the reports of violence, including the violent nature of the crime that we're seeing in the country, is that the stats and the research is also picking up that there is a problem when it comes to issues relating to arguments that then lead to the deaths and the murders, as we've spoken to it about now. But then what conversation should be had about when it comes to conflict resolution? Are we able to teach people at a young age how to deal with conflict resolution?
I think you're raising such an important point. And it's saying that we have to intervene, and these are longer-term interventions. So it is about teaching young people about conflict resolution. It's also about dealing with the high levels of socioeconomic inequality in this country, the high levels of poverty and unemployment. But these are all long-term interventions. And right now, the guns are shooting, and they are killing 34 people every day. We have got to silence those guns. It's not going to deal. Removing those guns is not going to deal with these long-term complex factors that contribute to violence in South Africa, but they will reduce the lethality of violence. And we've seen in South Africa in the past that when we reduced the availability of guns in this country between 2000 and 2010, we saw our gun death rate halving from 34 people a day, which is what we have right now, down to 18 people a day. So we have the experience, we know what works, and this is what was so shocking this morning, is that neither SAPS nor MPs who were sitting there hearing about the high levels of gun violence in this country looked at the gun at all. There was no acknowledgement about what we are going to do to address the high levels of gun violence in this country. And to say that, the gun violence is it's in particular provinces, so particularly Gauteng, KZN, Western Cape and Eastern Cape. It's in metropolitan areas in those countries. We need to be diverting resources to deal with those high crime areas, and we need to be focusing on recovering and destroying guns and stopping guns leaking into that illegal pool and into criminal hands.
Thank you so much for your time. Claire Taylor is a researcher at Gun Free South Africa. Listening into the conversation is Dr. Simon Hull, Research Associate at the Centre of Criminology at the University of Cape Town. Some of the drivers of murder have also been attributed to the rise in vigilantism in this quarter. To help us unpack this further, we are joined by Dr. Hull. Dr. Hull, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us, and seeing also that vigilantism has now become the second highest contributor to per category when it comes to murder. What's your takeaway from this, and what do you think the intervention should be?
Good afternoon. I think the rise in vigilantism is ultimately a result, of communities taking the law into their own hands, but as a result of a lack of trust or a lack of faith and understanding, or believing in the police being able to, actually deal with crime. And on the other hand, as mentioned before, the high levels of violence that seem to permeate South Africa as a whole, and the sort of acceptance of violence as a means of dealing with whatever issues emerge within communities or at an individual level. So, I think on the one hand, there's this concern around the legitimacy of that, and on the other hand, the legitimacy of violence as a means of responding to issues within communities.
And also looking at, for instance, if you look at per province, the Eastern Cape, they're having 95 murder incidents relating to vigilantism, and then you have KwaZulu-Natal at 97. And the conversation that we just had now with Claire, and Claire speaks about if you look at per province what's happening. Is there anything that we can deduce from this, that you have here what is considered to be a rural province like the Eastern Cape, and then you have KwaZulu-Natal as well, and you have these high incidents of vigilantism? Dr. Howler, are you still there? Okay, we seem to have lost him. We're going to try and see if we can get him back on the line. Vigilantism being the second highest contributor to the death rates in the country, or murder rates rather, in the country. And this is actually surpassing robbery. Have you ever thought that robbery would be surpassed by vigilantism? Murder from robbery being surpassed by vigilantism. Even gang-related murders are not as high as vigilantism. So the total that we have here is 428 murders that came from vigilantism, and you look at gang-related murders, those are 280. Okay, we have Dr. Howell back. Dr. Howell was saying that if you look at the provinces, one of the highest contributors to this vigilantism per province is KwaZulu-Natal as well as the Eastern Cape. Is there anything at all that we can deduce from that?
Well, I think, in KZN there has been high levels and ongoing levels of political violence and the settled history of political violence in that province. And in the Eastern Cape, there's a lot of communities that are beyond, or at least in areas which policing is very sparse and in which policing is seen with significant amounts of suspicion. So as a result, this is ultimately communities seeking to take justice into their own hands at the loss of policing and policing coverage in those areas.
What intervention do you think is required here?
Well, there are multiple. The one is that, I think on the one hand SAPS needs to work seriously and actually undertake measures to regain the trust of communities and to regain the confidence of communities so that they believe that they can actually have their problems dealt with accurately and effectively by SAPS and the criminal justice system. And on the other hand, there's a need for increased coverage and increased depth of policing. So it's not only, a quantitative increase in the number of police officers, but also a qualitative increase in the skills of those police officers so as that they can effectively intervene in issues within communities and, so as that communities ultimately have the trust of the criminal justice system once more. Because at the moment, I think a lot of vigilantism is a result of communities feeling that they have been underserved or not served by SAPS and that they need to ultimately take the law into their own hands in dealing with the issues which affect them.
Is there anything that we can do from a CPF level?
Yeah, CPS can play an important role, but ultimately, CPS are contingent on the effectiveness of the police stations which they are stationed to or which they are associated to. CPS play a fundamentally important role in building the bridges between SAPS and the communities, and the empowering those is obviously going to help communities feel they can reach out to the police and feel they can engage the police. But a lot of CPFs have battled in the past and battled in the present to find the resources they need and ultimately to effectively work with SAPS. And that is ultimately the key here. Is that I think SAPS can be difficult to work with, and despite a lot of attempts. At a community level, the managerial systems and the managerial focus of SAPS has been one that has ultimately failed to incorporate communities into effective policing as a whole. And this is ultimately why I think we see these ongoing high levels of vigilantism in various communities throughout the country.
Are peace wardens the answers, like we've seen with the Gauteng and the launch of these peace wardens by the Premier Banyaza?
They may be. Again, it depends on how effective they are, and that efficacy is a function of how well they can engage with communities and how well resourced they are. And typically, I think, and experience suggests that in South Africa, while there may be a number of these projects launched, they tend to peter out after a while, and that is, that is a result of an ongoing concern around the prioritization of safety and security of communities and the prioritization of dealing with SAPS and dealing with policing, so that it's seen as a community-based project. At the moment, I think often SAPS is seen as the sole recourse to problems and dealing with these issues, if at all, because of the legitimacy issue. But they really need to be empowered so as that they can be seen as effective bridges. and that and communities can see that they are part of the policing of the country and that they are part of the effective safety of their communities as a whole. And, until they're integrated into that plan, ultimately, then SAPS is seen apart and something that is not accessible often.
Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Simon Howell, there, Research Associate at the Centre for Criminology at the University of Cape Town.
#SAFMBTH.
It's 25 minutes after 4 o'clock. We're in conversation next with Malik Daso, who is the organizer of Extinction Rebellion Gauteng. Today, a state-owned entity's annual general meeting was disrupted after environmental activists called for Sasol to account for the slow rate of progress in achieving its climate change commitments. Sasol is releasing a statement on the matter and will not be talking or taking any interviews at this time. So to help us understand their concerns and what call of action they made during the meeting from the executive as well as the board, we are joined by Malik. Malik, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. So the testimonials, I guess, also of the people who are infected or affected by the poor conditions of the air that is being breathed in that area, what are they saying?
Sure, and thank you so much for having me. Well, the first thing they're saying is that people are dying right now because of respiratory illnesses, because of asthma, because of just direct exposure to particulate matter in the air that is creating awful conditions for the people living there. I mean, the one person who was with us at the action, he's a father. He has an 8-year-old daughter who right now has a lung infection because of the air that she breathes in there. She was diagnosed with it in March last year. Every day she is still on a pump. We had another person who had a mother, and for 30 years living in Sebokeng, she had to live with just an awful breathing apparatuses and medical interventions that just rendered her life terrible.
Mm-hmm. And from the, I don't know if there was any response though from the executive, but looking at the commitment that has been made or the commitments that were made before, because this is not the first time that you've had such protest action, what's the executive saying?
Sure. Well, honestly, I don't know. They said, do you want to talk? We said yes, but we want to talk in public here where everyone can hear what you're saying. And then the executives decided to be escorted off stage with a heavy security presence to protect them. I don't know what they were scared of, but they were escorted out, so we didn't actually get a chance to speak to them. I mean, they have a whole bunch of like PR nonsense statements that they'll put out into the press. I mean, they've been hiding for this one. I don't know why. But I do want to stress something, right, is that Sasol for over a decade has avoided compliance with air pollution standards, and they have never met a single emission reduction target that they've set for themselves. So any commitment that they've had is ultimately undermined by their actions. They've failed to do anything they've committed to do. So whatever they say, we should really take it with a pinch of salt because it's not true.
Earlier this year, we saw that Sasol was declared the second biggest emitter of greenhouse gases. Now that we have a climate change bill, do you think that that could reach or could lead to some change in the conduct of some parastatals as well as, I guess, private entities?
One would hope so, but we also know how slow bills are to take effect, and even when they do take, are put into action, how difficult it is to actually implement them in this country. Because honestly, we hold everyone except corporates and government to account on these issues. So I don't have much hope of the bill actually making a tangible difference. As long as Sasol maintains its bottom line and is allowed to resume its operations unabated, I don't actually see that bill having much weight. But
what do you think the answer is then? Because there's no way that Sasol would be shutting down considering how it's performing. This is now speaking about the balance sheet.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly the point, right? And so for that, we look to history for what's created change in these situations where vested power is so strong. And it's through civil resistance. It's through ordinary people taking up action against the against the corporates and the governments who continue to hold the poorest in this country hostage to their balance sheets. And it's doing things like what we did today continuously and actively to make sure that they actually cave to the pressure eventually.
Yep. Was anyone arrested?
No one was arrested today.
Okay.
No.
Malik Daso, thank you so much for your time. Organizer of Extinction Rebellion in Gauteng. It's 4:30. It's time for the news headlines with N. Musa.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Aldrin. In the headlines, Transnet Port Terminals has announced plans to suspend road freight to the Richards Bay Port Terminal. In a statement, the company says the decision is in the interest of public safety on the road. The Office of the Auditor General says there were no findings against it by the Zondo Commission. It instead says the office was lauded for its work in entities such as SAA, Denel as well as PRASA, where it provided clear insight at the very critical moments. And the Bela Magistrates Court in Limpopo has postponed the case against 3 people accused in the February 2020 burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm. And Musa, Greg House has your details on these and other stories at 5.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Stays busy on Joburg N3 going south this afternoon. There's been a collision just by Linksfield Road. It has been a collision hotspot today. This is about number 4, I think, going south into Linksfield. Traffic with Friday volumes backing up to Linbro Park. N1 towards the William Mandela off-ramp at 4-way, slow from Rivonia. And we've got a backlog of traffic just moving slowly through Pretoria with Friday volumes up to some roadworks at Rigel Avenue. The backlog of traffic at Botha Avenue, although the good news is it does seem to be easy. If you're driving into Pretoria from Hammanskraal, there's the roadworks just around Pumalani Plaza, and that's causing quite a backlog, just a single lane to work through there. Durban side, driving in from the airport, we've had a breakdown just before Gateway most of this afternoon, so very slow from the Sloty area down past Sabaya and in towards the roadworks just after the Gateway exit. And Cape Town today, a lot of congestion around the Kuiberg interchange, routes like the Kuiberg Road, the M5 going north to Section Street coming out of Pardon Island stays very heavy at this hour as well. And still, again, as we've seen this week, plenty of traffic coming out of Cape Town CBD. Bait and Truck is all gridlock down towards the elevated freeway. It means delays coming in on Strand Street, on Somerset, and Dock Road, leaving the waterfront very jammed as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
In your sports this hour, football fans who damaged FNB Stadium property on former Kaizer Chiefs head coach Molefi Ntseki's last game with the club will soon face the full might of the law. And this is according to Stadium SA's CEO Bertie Grobler, who says that they have since opened a case against these football hooligans. Grobler revealed that the fans who were responsible for throwing missiles at Ntseki and also damaged chairs at the stadium could soon be arrested.
You've got 20, 15, 30,000 spectators attending a fixture to support their team, support the sport they love, and then you've got certain individuals that mess it up. And the implications of that goes far further than just not a game played behind closed doors. There's commercial implications, there's sponsors involved, there's TV sponsorships involved. And as a collective, we need to take action. And from stadium management side, the Safety at Sport and Event Act allows for criminal charges to be instituted for contravention of the Act. And after the incident, we did so.
In the meantime, Everton have been handed the heaviest points punishment in Premier League history. They've been docked 10 points with immediate effect for a breach of the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. And Everton say that they're very shocked and disappointed by the ruling and have vowed to appeal. And due to this, it means that they're now in the relegation zone. In athletics South Africa faced considerable challenges this year, and it was marked by limited success in their senior athletes, just getting a bronze at the World Half Marathon Championships in October. And a whole 36 athletes fell short of securing any medals at the World Athletics Championships. And chairperson of ASAA Athletes Commission, Hendrik Mkhanyezi, has described the past year as a challenging period for the National Athletics Federation.
Yeah, I think somewhere, somehow, in terms of the year program of some of the athletes, those that are contracted somewhere, they have their own schedules, and for them to come and represent the country, you find they phrase too much. They were too much on the plate. When they get to that, they cannot deliver to the 100%. So it's things that we are looking at, and you can hear from this in Daba. People are speaking about the mental health, and then even if when you give resources, the resources doesn't determine or give a final decision that that person will deliver. So there is a lot within that we need to work on, but we're looking forward. For us is to say, let's work as a family. When athletes have issues, they must talk to us so we can raise them, than to always come and defend the position. For us, it's not to defend, but we must say athletes must raise their issues at the right platform where we can deal with it.
In cricket, Titans are set to clash with the Lions this weekend at TUT in the Women's One Day Cup and T20 Challenge. The Daisy Ladies are riding high after clinching victories in both the 50-over and T20 Challenge against the Dolphins. In boxing, Anthony Joshua insists that he's not past his peak after the former unified world heavyweight champion's third fight of the year against Otto Wallen was announced as a part of a phenomenal fight card to be hosted in Saudi Arabia on the 23rd of December. Joshua shares the bill with former world heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, who has long been mooted as a potential opponent, with the American facing former WBO world champion Joseph Parker.
People talking about our peaks have never even seen what a peak looks like in their whole career, so I don't know what they're talking about, number one. Secondly, I want to thank His Highness Turkey and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for putting a phenomenal card together, and I'm looking forward to delivering my message to Otto Wallen on December 23rd. I set out a plan at the start of this year, and I'm sticking to that. I'm a man of my word. I stand firm on what I believe, and I believe I'm going to be three-time heavyweight champion of the world. And my first stop to that, in getting in the rankings, is putting on a demolishing job against Otto Wallen.
With that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour. For SAFM Sport, I'm Dumin Khapele.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And it's time for a market update with Paswana Mpahlele, who is a senior portfolio manager at the Makwe Fund Managers. Paswana, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. Let's look at international market developments and also looking at what's happening locally.
Afternoon, Aldrin. We're looking at a market that had little data flowing through into the market and has left market participants to just continue to add on the bets on potential rate cuts coming in around quarter two of 2024. And this follows the positive inflation data we've seen from the US and lately today coming out of the Eurozone, where the inflation has also declined from 4.3 to 2.9 in the month of October. And this momentum of inflation coming down has seen stock rallying of late, and for this week we're seeing gains around global markets. But these developments have also supported the bond buying as it continues today. We saw bond yields that are getting lower, and the further breakdown in these long-term yields, however, also reflect a weaker demand outlook that is on the cards. And when you correlate it with the dollar weakness, we're seeing at 104 level today, and that has dropped over 1%, and the gold gaining over 1%. These signals, when you put them together in the process, is just flashing early lights of global growth slowdown in terms of the rate of change. Investors now are on the fence on a wait to see as they wait to get more guidance from new data. And when we just look at the overall equity performance, we're just seeing a US market that opened flat as it does the wait and see approach. Europe was flashing greens all over, from FTSE up 1%, DAX 0.8%, CAC 2% as the European inflation is coming down. And while locally we managed to continue with the rally we've seen over the week, we managed up 0.2. We're led by our resources up 1.1, industrials up 0.2, while our financials were down 0.5. We come into the commodity market where gold is still up 0.2 at $1,985.50, while platinum was up 1% at $902, while the Brent crude oil rebounded by 1.4% at $78.70, but remains in a bearish trend. Looking at the rand, it's relatively strong at 18.35 against the dollar, against the euro 19.97, against the pound 82.
Thank you so much. That is Paswana Mphahlele, Senior Portfolio Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. 0614-104107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
It is 20 minutes now before 5 o'clock, and as we normally do run about this time, which I missed last week because, your boy was traveling internationally, Yeah, got that passport stamped.
He went to Lesotho.
No, I was in Zambia. It's still part of SADC, but I was in Zambia. Yes. And I was listening to last week's bonding session as well. So, and it is, I don't know if it's apt, but yeah, because it also relates to crime, and we just had the crime statistics. But anyway, let me introduce our guest. Today we are joined by Khanyisa Bono, who is an award-winning comedian and actress. Of course, you may have seen her on SABC One's Says Topla, where she starred as a domestic worker. I'm actually surprised that you're a teacher. Khanyisa, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Are you a funny teacher?
No, I'm a serious teacher.
Really? What were you teaching?
Geography.
No ways.
I'm telling you. I can tell you about the weather right now.
Okay. The
sky is clear.
Well, the sky is clear. Okay. Let me just quickly lift up your mic there. So, Khanyisa, thank you so much for joining us and being our co-host this afternoon. We really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying to the team now, just listening into the crime stats that were released today. And today we're trying to see is a parody though that you can create out of crime, and this is your niche.
Mm-hmm,
this is your thing.
Yeah.
How did it come about though?
Because in Joburg, it's all people talk about. Not in Joburg anymore. Everywhere now, everyone is talking about crime, and you feel like, hey, this crime thing is here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So when I got on stage, I always want to talk to people about things they can relate, So I crime. Everyone has experienced crime one way or another.
Well, Dumi says no, she
No,
hasn't.
man, Aldrin.
That's what you said.
But it was off air.
But you said you.
But eventually,
okay, sorry,
I told you was.
Sorry.
You mean never?
No, I did say there was one incident where they car jammed my car and they took an iPhone.
These people,
iPad,
the whole iPhone.
Yeah. So how do you go about it? How do you go about delivering humor out of such a serious thing and traumatic experience?
I try to make it less serious as possible. Like, because I come from Whittlesea, which is a small town in the Eastern Cape. I always try to compare crime back at home and crime here in Joburg. I'm like, okay, criminals at home are still amateurs. They need some what you call mentoring from criminals in Joburg, because you can see what they are trying, but now that I come from Joburg, I'm like, no, man, guys, no. You need to pull up your socks. This is not crime. I know crime. Yeah, and I think crime needs a bit of intelligence. You can't be a criminal if you're not intelligent.
I totally agree with you.
I'm telling you, those criminals are very smart.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. So today for the bonding session conversation, you're very brave, by the way, to do this. Tell us about the question that you want to ask.
Ask the listeners.
Yes.
Listeners at home, hello. I'm sure it's rude to just ask without greeting.
No,
Especially
yes.
in Joburg. Here in Joburg, people will say, hello. You're like, you're at home affairs. You're like, which two is for like, then they look at you like, how are you?
So yeah. So they just look at you like,
they're like
when you're like, which queue? Like, hello.
Hi.
I'm fine, thank you.
Remember that ENCA journalist that one time?
Oh yes, was it the one that happened in Bramford
or something? Yes. And then she was asking a question, and then the person was like, "Hi, look at."
In Joburg, you can't get away without
Yeah.
greeting. So, hello, guys. I know I'm not talking to people in Josie alone. Like everywhere in wherever you're listening from. Hello, my name is Kanyesa, and what was the question, by the way? That's why I left teaching. I would just get lost sometimes.
Kanyisa, our geography teacher.
Ish.
Oh, it is what you want the listeners to respond to. Which question do you want them? The question is a question.
Today, can we share experiences, guys? If you've ever had any experience with, especially mugging or any type of crime in Joburg or wherever you are, we can just share. Maybe we can get tips from each other how to avoid it happening again. You know.
What's your experience?
My experience, there's lots of them. I used to travel by train back then when I was new in Joburg, when people were not staring at me in a train. Like, I knew I had to stop when I was like, one day everyone was looking at me like, okay, now I don't belong here anymore. So I used to travel by train. I remember one time I lost my phone. Like, I could not believe it. Because I did not feel anyone touching me. My phone was in my pocket. I did not feel anyone taking my phone. And then I'm like, no, these criminals. That's one of those experiences. The other one, in fact, both instances, I lost my phone. The other one was in Joburg Central. Then two boys came to me and they tried to convince me to buy a plastic bag for 5 rand. I was not interested in the plastic bag because I was not even carrying anything. So I didn't need a plastic bag. Like, guys,
why are you selling me a plastic bag?
At some point, I even wanted to say, I'd rather give you 5 rand because I don't want a plastic bag. But these young criminals, those ones are young. I think around about 2022. So as I'm walking, the other one is walking in front, the other one is walking like slightly at the back. So when I'm talking to the one at the back, I have to turn my head because he's walking just behind me. I didn't know that he was a skill or whatever, because when I was looking there, someone was busy pickpocketing me. So I lost my phone.
And it was gone like that.
Yeah.
No, you didn't lose your phone. It was stolen.
Like 5, actually, from a 5 rand that you're willing to offer, now an entire phone is gone. By the way, I've got an experience with the trains as well. I used to take the train from Kliptown to, all the way in Kurlin. Just forgot what the name of that station is called. Maybe Pumulong, if I'm not mistaken. And I used to sell sherbet, like Trinko Pop. Hey, bafika bafana.
Yeah.
Hey, bafika bafana. And they were nice. They were kind. Like, hey, eta unjani sharp. Hey, upete mali? No, I don't have money. And at the time, my Zulu wasn't as good, I think, as it is now. It was very bad. So I used to be called English boy. So you can imagine being mugged. There you are in English. But anyway, and they're like, yeah, upete mali? And I'm like, no, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. And they said, stand up. I stood up and they took everything. And they actually took the sherbet as well. And they took the money. And then another incident, actually. Shareworld. You know Shareworld, Shareworld opposite, what's it called again? Opposite Nazareth. So, big spinwi moto lapha, drifting. And we used to live in Orlando East. So we would walk to Shareworld to go and watch the guys drift their cars and so forth. So this one day, my mother had bought me a new jacket, second-hand jacket, by the way, from, am I allowed to say Gamatunusa? Is it okay? Bought me a jacket, Gamatunusa. I had 5 rand in my pocket and they took it. They took my jacket and they took the 5 rand as well. Yeah, so that's my crime experience.
Yeah.
To me, you're very lucky.
I haven't experienced
any of that. Which roads do you use in Joburg? I want to use the roads you use.
I'm from the burbs.
I can tell. I can definitely tell. Wow.
Tumi is from the burbs. She ain't know these type of experiences you guys are talking about. She's like, what's happening?
The funny thing about the nice criminals, if I'm allowed to say nice, you feel like you can negotiate. Like if they take your phone, like, my brother, can you just at least spare me my SIM card? You try to explain but you'll never win because they don't have time.
Yeah.
To give you a SIM card and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never really experienced it like people coming to me and asking. They take it, like, I'm always unaware when they take it. But I think I can be very traumatized if they can come and say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is Kanye Sapunu, who is our co-host this afternoon for the bonding session. I wonder if you are able to actually get to a point where you see a bit of humor in your experience in crime. Is that possible at all? Do you guys sometimes laugh about some of the incidents that you've come across and some of the crime incidents that you come across? Please do share those with us on 0614 104 1807. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
Tune in for a conversation on diabetes on Afternoon Express. We're joined by physician and endocrinologist Dr. Jocelyn Hellig to unpack the common symptoms and risk factors of this disease. Plus, we look at how to manage diabetes through lifestyle choices with dietitian Kath McGaw. That's Afternoon Express this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3. Repeat Sundays at 8:30 a.m.
It's about a little more than just an X on that ballot paper. It's about South-Gov knowing what I want, where I'm going, and who I want to take with on this journey. To me, it's not just a vote. It's my democracy. I own it. So show up and register for what you stand for. From Giyani to Umlazi, Pitori to Matatiel. Bring your green bar-coded ID, smart card or temporary ID certificate. Stations open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 18 to 19 November 2023. Or register online by going to elections.org.za or call 0800 11 8000. It's your democracy. Own it. Brought to you by the IEC. Have you ever noticed how unique the rugby ball is?
You should check out Head High.
The rise of junior rugby stars Mana and Tai.
Vince is not just their stepfather, he's their coach.
Catch the brothers' dream of the black jersey, Head High, every Sunday at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com.
Hashtag Rugby Drama Galore. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SFM invites you to our inaugural public lecture, delivered by the former Chief Justice, Mogoeng Mogoeng.
When something is in the heart, you really don't need to be checking as if it was something that was designed to facilitate your appointment. One of the things that I promised the nation was to make sure that transformation happens, with a view to ensuring that work is somewhat evenly distributed among whites, black people, and both black and white women. That is the one responsibility among many that I have pursued with everything within my heart.
The lecture will take place on the 29th of November 2023 at the SABC M1 Studios in Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
It is 7 minutes now before 5 o'clock, and we're in conversation next with Tariq Hendricks, who's a grade 12 student from Pinelands High School. Did you see the victory plane artwork? Yeah, the plane that flew the Springboks around. Well, the victory plane artwork that flew South Africa's Springboks all over the country in the midst of the World Cup celebrations and the Bok Fever was designed by Tariq Hendricks, who is a matriculant at Pinelands High School, and he now joins us on the line. Tariq, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Some children get to see the Webb Ellis Cup. Some people get to see their favorite Springboks on TV. Some get the opportunity to go and watch them on the field. And you designed something for them. Huh?
Yeah, I think that the design was it's something I take a lot of pride in because being able to know that people around South Africa and even the Springboks themselves were able to fly on a plane graced by my design. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us how you came up with this design and how did you get involved with getting to a point actually where your design would be the one that is chosen.
So a few years ago, 2 years ago, I saw a video that Fly Sapphire posted called "What if we replaced our pink and blue colors with green and gold?" And this is something that I was inspired by, and the question popped in my head, and I decided I want to see what would happen if we did replace Fly Sapphire's colors with green and gold. And I used an online template, and I made a design that did exactly that, replaced the pink and blue with green and gold. And a couple of months later, a user on an aviation forum also posed the same question, and in response, I posted that design. And Fly Sapphire CEO saw it and reached out to me regarding whether they could use the design on their aircraft. Sorry.
Yeah. What was that moment like? Yeah, you've just responded to a question, and you get a call from the CEO of Fly Sapphire.
I was in shock. I was beyond disbelief. I didn't believe that it was actually the CEO of Fly Sapphire that would be contacting me and that would have seen my design and that I would actually get a chance to see this design grace the skies.
Yeah. At what moment did it really sink in that this is actually happening? My design will actually be the one, as you say, that grace the blue skies of our country.
So it was when we actually got into contact with Fly Sapphire, and we were talking back and forth over email, and that was when it really hit me that this is real. This is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Is this something that you want to pursue further?
Definitely.
This is design.
I'm currently studying for towards becoming a private pilot.
Ooh.
At the Cape Town Flight Training Center. Aviation's been something that I've always been interested in ever since I can remember. I've always loved aviation, so definitely pursuing something aviation related further is definitely a goal for me.
Wow! Listen to that, hey? Wanting to become a pilot, and then you get to design one of the most used airlines aircraft that will grace our blue skies, as you said. What's your motivation? What drives you?
To be honest, it's just love. It's a love for flying, a passion for flying, a passion for aviation. I think that's the only thing that really drives me.
And for other children listening out to Tariq, who just responded to a question, and that response would be a life-changing moment, what would you like to say to them?
I think just follow your dreams. If you have a passion for something, follow it, because you never know where you could end up. You could end up with something amazing, with an amazing position, somewhere you love, a place you love, doing things you love. I think that's the most important thing.
And can we expect any more of your artwork?
Ooh, I'm not too sure. I hope so in the future too.
So this is the one, and this will be the only one. I hope that they auction it, hey? And if they do auction it, then I hope that you get rich and rich and rich and rich from it.
Oh, I hope so too.
Tariq, thank you once again for making time for us, and congratulations. Well done.
Thank you so much.
That is Tariq Hendricks, a grade 12 student at Pinelands High School, who designed the victory plane artwork that we saw, the Springboks being flown with throughout the country, and as it says, grazing the blue skies of our nation. 0614 104 107. You can also drop us an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Aldrin, often vigilantism has to do with the failure of the state. people lose confidence in the justice system. They realize that people are arrested, soon they will be out. Even if they are arrested and say sentenced, parole will be very soon. You kill 3 people in a family, you get 3 times life sentence. After half of 25 years or 25 years, you will be out. What will the family say? So when justice system does not seem to be delivering and people don't seem to accept it, that it is a consequence management equivalent to the guilt of a person, then vigilantism take over. So it's when justice system fail people, when it is not seem to be doing correct. Gordon Bulukwan.
Hi, good afternoon, Aldrin. Flores again here from the Western Cape. Aldrin, I just love that actor / geography teacher. But let me tell you, Aldrin, we underestimate comedians in this country. Those guys are extremely educated and literate. That's very good. That's very good. They always have something to fall back on. I just heard it now, quickly, pulling a fast one on you about the weather. So, yeah.
Yeah, let's quickly just replay that. Unfortunately, she didn't have her headsets on. Let's quickly replay that. Kanyisa, this is for you from one of our listeners.
Hi, good afternoon, Aldrin. Flores again here from the West.
Okay, no, we seem to have a problem with that clip. We're going to see if we can play it just after 5 o'clock. The bonding session, any light moment that you can take from an incident relating to crime, perhaps, that you'd like to share with us? We know that we are, it's really a push here. It's really, really, really a push. Are you able to find a sense of laughter? What do they call it again? Humor out of an incident of crime that happened to you? Perhaps maybe today you guys laugh about it, you with your friends as well as your family. I'd love to hear about that. After the news at 5 o'clock, Grekos is standing by.
Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Thank you, Aldrin. In this news update, plans to suspend Richards Bay road freight and Mnyeni cases postponed. Good day to you. Transnet Port Terminals has announced plans to suspend road freight to their Richards Bay Port Terminal. In a statement, the company says the decision is in the interest of public safety on the road. Transnet says only trucks whose vessels have been nominated will be processed. The move follows a threat of legal action by the municipality, which has raised concern about high truck volumes on its roads, which it cannot control. The Road Freight Association's Gavin Kelly.
How are businesses going to be able to operate and continue to generate revenue, not only for themselves, but also for the country? It's no wonder that if these are the sorts of decisions taken by Transnet, who monopolizes both the rail and the port networks, that we are where we are today. The answer must be that we need to address the problem. And those problems lie solely, in this case, at rail not doing what it should do and the inefficiencies at the port.
The Bela Bela Magistrates Court in Limpopo has postponed the case against 3 people accused of the 2020 burglary at President Ramaphosa's Palapala farm, in which they allegedly stole foreign currency worth more than $500,000. The matter has been postponed to next month, when accused number 1 will continue with his bail application. Magistrate Pradeshni Poonen granted bail to the 2 other accused.
The court hereby finds it is in the interest of justice that accused number 2 and accused number 3 be released on bail. In respect of accused number 2, bail is fixed at an amount of 5,000 rand. She must refrain from any communication with witnesses. She shall not leave the jurisdiction of Bela Bela. In respect of accused number 3, bail is fixed at an amount of 10,000 rand. He shall not leave the jurisdiction of Mthatha, Eastern Cape, and if he has to do so, he shall inform the investigating officer.
The fraud and corruption case of the former South African Airways board chairperson Dudu Myeni and Sondolo IT director Trevor Mathenjwa has been postponed in the Richards Bay Magistrates Court in KwaZulu-Natal to February next year. The case relates to the state capture report in which Myeni allegedly received 300,000 rand from Bosasa without declaring it. The NPA's Sindisiwe Seboka.
Contents of the docket have been disclosed to the accused in the over 300,000 matter involving former SAA board chairperson Dudu Myeni and former Sondolo IT director Trevor Mathenjwa. The court also heard that the investigating directorate intends to bring a centralization application. One of the accused, Dudu Myeni's legal counsel, has indicated that they intend to oppose this centralization application. The arguments therein will then be heard on the 9th of February when the matter returns to court.
The temporary shelter where victims of the Marshalltown fire have been moved to has been described as inhumane. The victims were relocated from a recreational centre this week to an industrial area in Denver, south of Johannesburg, with no access to water or electricity. Hasina Gori reports.
In August, a fire ravaged through the Isindiso building in Marshalltown, gutting the 5-story hijack building, claiming the lives of 77 and leaving hundreds displaced. Survivors were housed by the city of Johannesburg in shelters. However, in the last week, they've been relocated to an open land owned by the city. Over 100 corrugated iron structures have been constructed. The area has no electricity or ablution facilities, with a scattering of mobile toilets. These shelters have been reserved for South Africans only, leaving many of the migrants who were also displaced unsure where they will be moved to.
As international philanthropist Melinda Gates is expected to be the main speaker at the Desmond Tutu International Peace Lecture in Cape Town this evening, we look back at some of the peace lectures that took place. Zimbabwean-born billionaire Strive Masiyiwa spoke about some lighter moments when he delivered the peace lecture in 2019.
Arch had me as an ambassador on one of his programs, and we traveled together. So there was a group of us, about 7 of us, and we used to go around the world with Arch. But there's one I particularly remember. We went to Portugal. I don't know if you remember, Arch. So we arrived, and they were waiting for us at the airport. There were maybe 50, 100 people waving as we came through. And when the barrier was lifted, people moved forward and they surrounded Arch.
The top story, Transnet Port Terminals has announced plans to suspend road freight to their Richards Bay Port Terminal. In a statement, the company says the decision is in the interest of public safety on the road. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khoes.
And coming up in your sports this hour, 10,000 tickets sold for Bafana Bafana versus Benin game at Moses Mabhida Stadium, and arm back for the Sharks. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just a reminder, if you drive into Pretoria from Hammanskraal, there's quite a big queue of traffic to work through. There's only a single lane open for roadworks on the M1 South approaching Pumalani Plaza. And the queue is almost back as far as Warmansdal Road. The N3 South update there, the crash at Linksfield Road has been moved to the side of the carriageway. So all lanes are open, but there's now a little complication with a breakdown after that in the lane at Geluli. So the traffic remains very heavy from just after the Clue interchange. Big queues down through Limborough Park, Alex and Edenvale today. Durban, let's get you an update on the N2. It's been fairly busy today on the southbound run. It still is. There's a delay between Sibaya and Gateway, and then if you're going north, a crash between Gateway and Sibaya, so fairly heavily backed both ways on that section of the N2. And Cape Town, the exits from the CD remains reasonably heavy for Friday afternoon on Bait and Truck. Bait and Truck leaving the CBD out to the elevated freeways bad. Helen Suzman, Strand Street coming in from the Greenpoint side is very heavy to that. The good news is if you're in the CBD and heading out of town, the Kubo Interchange and Hospital Bend running nice and open. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Beyond the Headline on SAFM, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
It is 8 minutes after 5 o'clock and it's time for the bonding session. We're taking your calls on 086 000 2032. You can drop me a voice note on 0614 104107 and an X at Aldrin Sampear. My co-host this afternoon is award-winning Khanyisa Bono. Thank you so much for being in studio with us.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, she's a teacher here.
Yeah.
I don't know, are you still a teacher?
No.
Do you say I'm a former teacher?
I don't know
But
what
do
I
you ever
am.
stop
I'm
being a teacher?
You don't,
stop,
you know.
yeah?
Yeah, so did you just say Sanel is online?
Yeah, Sanela wants to say.
Sanele is like your name is like I've had it enough with crime. Like Sanele. KZN and Sanele. Crime.
Sanela, good afternoon. Khanyisa just went straight into it. Doesn't want to waste time. Sanela, good afternoon.
Hello, Aldrin and Khanyisa, good afternoon, guys. First thing, Aldrin, I think it's Bunu and not Bunu. That's her surname.
It is Bunu.
Bunu.
Is it Bunu? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought I heard this come up sometime back and you corrected to say Bunu. Okay, thanks. Thanks for that. But my story goes like this, Aldrin. This must have been back in 2017, and I was working private security, right? So I was standing guard in one of the shopping centers in PNB, and basically they didn't have like a space or like a room allocated for a security guard to put your belongings in, right? So I had this lunch bag, and inside my lunch bag, of course, my lunch and my documents like ID and all the other bank cards and important stuff. So I didn't have a proper place to dock it, right? So I put it against one of the big pot plants that was around the center there, just to hide it away. And there I was patrolling, doing my job. When I came back from my lunch, my bag wasn't there.
Aibo.
Yeah, so, and, was kind of devastated. Especially to think that some important stuff was in there. And so I asked if there was cleaning, maintenance stuff that we worked together with. And there was one man that kind of suspected some guy. Of course, we couldn't trace and track that guy. But he just said that there was one particular guy, and his manner of approach coming towards this section was kind of suspicious to him. So that was the only thing that sort of pointed towards who may have. But anyway, I lost my face that way. And
so sorry.
The joke to this was that when I related this story to one of the shop managers, and he joked that, crime is so bad in this town, when the guys steal from actual security. And now I'm coming back crying to them about my bag.
Imagine, we trust you to protect us, and you are the first victim.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for the call, Saneri.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Kanyani. But Khanyisa, this is your thing. This is your show. So you're co-hosting with me. So you must be the one who says, yes. No, there's no teacher who's a slow learner. I reject that with the contempt that it deserves. Okay, Khanyisa, go.
Ganyani, hello, Ganyani.
Hi, Khanyisa. Hi, good afternoon.
How are you, my bro?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm fine. How is crime there in Middleburg?
Actually, the crime happened in Witbank.
Oh, Witbank.
Yeah, it was in 2009. I had just moved to Witbank for work. So I actually rented this place in a small town just outside Witbank. It's called Linville. So it's more of a commune setup. I think there's about 4 rooms and a main house. So 2 or 3 guys were staying in the other 3 rooms. And I think the first week when I got there, one of the guys came to me and he borrowed $100.
Yes.
And then I gave it to him, and then 2 or 3 days later, I saw him sneaking into my room.
Aibo. He wants
I
more.
had stories about these guys being into funny businesses in town. Then searched my wallet. There is no money. It was 150, 220s, and a 10 rand. So my plan was to approach him because I saw him. Guess what? First thing in the morning before I left my room to go and see him, he was knocking on my door.
Aibo.
And then I said, okay, how can I help you? He said, no, I'm here to pay the 100 that I borrowed.
No way.
I felt defeated.
So he stole from you to pay you back?
Yeah, he stole from me to pay for me. Like, really now, how do you do that? the lesson I took from that is that criminals are not as dumb as we think they are.
Yes,
They're
like
quite
Kanyisa was
smart.
saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kanyani. Thank you so much.
Sorry, my brother.
No, it's fine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sure. And then we have Kim. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Aldrin and everyone.
And Kanyisa.
Hello.
Aldrin, Kanyisa, and everyone.
And everyone. Pela Kanyisa is a co-host, so you must acknowledge Kanyisa.
No, I didn't want to offend someone whereby I say the name incorrectly.
All right.
Welcome, Kim. Sorry, nearly called you Kanyisa.
All right. Okay, my experience was in 2005. I was working in one of the shops as an assistant manager there. It was one Sunday morning, and then three guys came into the shop, and then they looked at our merchandise, and then one pointed at one of the merchandise which was expensive there, and he indicated that, you know what, I like this one. So it was a shoe. And he asked me what time am I closing the shop, and then honestly, so I responded and I said, we're closing at 1, and then he said, no, I'll come back at around 1:45. Of course, fine. They went exactly 1:45. They came back. It was 3 guys. While I was busy counting some cash there.
They were punctual.
They very much punctual. So then he asked me from the till to the corner of the shop there. And then when I got there, he just pointed a gun behind my back. And I thought that, no, this guy is just joking. And then when I noticed the other 3 staff members were being escorted from all the other other aisle to the back storeroom. And then we were escorted back there, and then they said, we want all the money. And then in Sesotho, one said, you know what, I mean, anything from you. They took our phones, they put them in a box somewhere, and then they escorted me back to the till, and then they took all the money.
Sure.
So after they went, and it started ringing
the
back
phone
on me, and I like, how? These guys actually came earlier in the morning just to find out what time I would close in the shop so that we make money. When we made money, we come back. And then I was like, these guys, man, they crazy, honestly, and they plan their things very well.
No, they do.
So you never caught? They were never caught?
No, they were never caught, and that was the last time we ever spoke about it. We called the cops. They came and then they took statement, and then that was the last of it. So we never heard of them. But one thing that I didn't like is that the way it so happened, the shop owners felt like we actually orchestrated this whole thing.
Because because the thing is that Kim,
the thing is we had some money in a safe, but I didn't indicate that we had money in a safe. I felt like I regretted. I could have actually even opened this thing.
But I have to say, Kim, they come and they say, "No, we don't want your money. We want the owners of the shop's money."
Yay!
How did
we felt very humble.
So they never took your phones?
No, they didn't take it. They just took our phone so that we don't make anything stupid.
Yeah,
man. Call or something.
So when they said that they don't want your money, they want the boss's money, did you think that, they are kind?
No, they're the kind ones.
It felt so. We felt
Kim, thank you so much for the call. Kim there from Nelspruit.
Wow. Such unbelievable stories.
Yeah. Let's go to, is it Kanye who's joining us from Msinga? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing, guys?
We well.
I'm well. Kanye Msinga. Kanyisa, I'm a fan of you. I follow you.
Wow. Thank you.
So this now I've been a victim of crime a number of times. So now this happened back when I was in West. I used to live in Johannesburg. There was a residence, SLN Street. I don't know if they still have it. It's up in Hillbrow. So with our friends, we decide, when we just get off the bus, we decide, no, you know what, let's go out. Let's go to Hillbrow and see what's happening. Then we decide we're going to give 2 of our friends all our phones, our wallets, and our bags. They're going to go just up the flat and put it there and leave it. That's fine. So we're going to wait for them at the cross there. When they come out, then they'll join us and we go. So on their way to the flat, which is not even a kilometer away, they come across these gangsters, these very clever tortoises, who then mark them off our phones. We are about 6 or 7. They mark them off our phones, our wallets and our school bags. I mean, we're still students. We don't have much. So when they check that, one of my friends who actually lives in Joburg, and each time we meet, we always laugh about this. She negotiates with them. She says, you know what, these are not our phones. So how about you tell us how much you want, and then we can give you that. And then the guys ask how much we have, and she says, now I've got 300 rand. And they say, oh, bring that. And where is it? No, it's in the ATM. Would you just wait for me?
Yeah.
I'll go by the ATM and withdraw it.
So there was the actual negotiation that took place.
There was a negotiation.
It
But
was
my friend,
it was a
I don't-
peaceful robbery.
A peaceful robbery, but I've got no idea how these two of my very good friends thought that when they returned with the money, they were just going to have an exchange, give the money and take the phone back. Guess what? When they returned with the money, then the guy said, thank you. So we've got phones.
And the money, no.
We always laugh about this.
I'm so sorry, Kanye. Is that your name, Kanye?
It's my name. My full name is Kanye Sile.
Oh, all right. Almost my namesake.
Almost.
Almost. And the person who receives me, I think her name is Kanya.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So it's Kanya.
Again, I'm your friend. I never miss your show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kanya. Really appreciate it. Kanya there from appreciate it.
Wow. I think after
But here's the thing, though. Just think about it. So somebody robs you, right? They want to take your phone, and then you say, okay, I'll give you cash. Do you really think that they are going to give you the phone back so that they can get the cash?
It's like cash is like a bonus. Like wow,
Wow.
And now this has triggered me to remember something. But
Tell us quickly.
It was in 2021.
Yeah.
I don't know how I lost my phone. I went to buy some food somewhere in Pretoria. So between the store and the car, I lost my phone. I don't know what happened, and I could not explain it. So that time I was shooting for somewhere in Joburg, Sestopla. So I didn't even call my phone. I gave up on getting my phone. Then my cousin in Alwal North called me and said, I called those people.
But called you where? Do you have now have a new phone?
Yeah, no, because I have another number. You know when he called me on another phone. Like, I think 5 or 6 days after I lost my phone, and then my cousin said, "Guys, I cannot believe that those people are answering that phone, and they seem nice." I'm like, I never even tried. Let me just call them. And then I called them. They said to me, "If you give me 1,000, I'm gonna give you your phone back." I could not believe it. That time I was busy shooting, and I even asked the director, "Can I please break Eddie today because I have to meet these criminals in Pretoria?" They say they want 1,000. The way I value what is in that phone, I can even pay that 1,000. And then I tried my luck because I took a train to Pretoria.
Yeah.
So when I was at the station, I talked with those cops. I'm like, guys, can't you come with me? Because these people.
A sting operation.
Yeah, I'm like, can you come? Then it was 2 young ladies. Said, no, don't go there. I'm like, I felt like they were scared. Then I walked to the police station in Pretoria, and I said, guys, I need someone to escort me because these people are waiting for me at Church Square. And it was getting darker and darker. Then even then, they're like, I'm leaving now. My shift is over. Someone is coming. I'm like, no, what? I'm going alone. I went there, and they told me what they were wearing. I found them. When they saw me, they smiled. They gave me the phone. I gave them the money. I'm like, but I felt like...
So it actually worked with you?
It worked, but I felt angry still that I wanted to get my phone without having paid anything.
But at least it worked on your
did
side.
work. Those guys were smiling.
So Kanye's friend are not wrong. Kanye's friend are not wrong.
Yeah.
Kanye's friends are not wrong to
trying.
think that there's a possibility that they could
happened.
be like a Kanye's.
And I'm thinking, like, in Joburg, all I've ever lost was a phone, like, all the time.
Why is it?
Hey, I don't know.
Maybe you're not supposed to have a phone. Maybe you're not supposed to have a phone.
Imagine a whole comedian without a phone.
0614 104 107, and you can also drop us an X at Aldrin Sampear. Let's take some of your voice notes.
Thank you.
Hi, Aldrin. Aldrin, you spoke about a funny robbery. In this instance, there was a guy that worked for me, and he was walking in Pinetown in one of the taxi ranks there. And the guy got hold of him and asked him for his cell phone. So he had one of those cheapy 200 cell phones. When he offered them that phone, the guy gave him a good hiding and said to him, you know what? You must buy a nice iPhone or a modern phone. Don't keep this cheapy ones. We don't want that one. I think when he told us that thing, as much as we were feeling sorry for him because of the hiding that he got, but we just laughed about the fact that the way these robbers are asking for what they wanted. That's my side of the story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like those small Nyana phones. Apologies for the language there. Just mind your language as well as you call in and contribute to the conversation. Let's hear those voice notes. 0614-104107.
This other guy also in Val. He was from work. He was carrying a watermelon and traveling with a taxi. So he was walking on the open space. They came, these guys, and then they started to pickpocket him and search him. They said he must put the watermelon in his head. And then they just searched the place, and then they took the watch. And then they said to him, just carry on and put that watermelon, carry it. Go straight, don't even look back. Just go straight. And then this guy was so traumatized. He went home and he entered the home up until he entered the kitchen. Even if he was in the kitchen, just going straight into the bedroom with that watermelon on the head, not looking back. The pickpocketers are so cruel, guys. It's so laughable. Thank you.
But and sometimes you're wondering, you're like, but why do you have to be so mean?
Mean.
And so humiliating.
Apparently, these criminals were not hungry.
Yeah, clearly, evidently so.
They would have taken the watermelon as well.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking that now, the reason that they would say, like, put the watermelon in your head is that instead of saying hands up, then automatically the watermelon being on your head and you reaching out to the watermelon would mean that your hands are up and they're able to pickpocket. 0614-104107. You can drop us an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032. Tell us about some of your funny moments relating to a crime or criminal incident that you'd like to share with Kanyisa and myself. Bonding session. Should I take back the gift that I gifted you when we were in a relationship once we've broken up?
Hi, I'm with Aldrin and the team. Kepaximos busy. Yo, I've got a story. I bought my then girlfriend, a car, which I was paying for. 6 months later, she dumped me and she went to visit a new boyfriend with the car that I bought. Now, I made up a trick. I stopped paying for the car and they repossessed the car. After repossessing the car, I went there and paid the outstanding balance cash. They brought the car back. I sold the car and bought a new car for my now girlfriend.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
It is 28 minutes after 5 o'clock and you're still listening to the bonding session. My co-host this evening is award-winning Kanyisa Punu. Speaking about your funny moments relating to crime, is it Krista?
Yes.
Krista. Oh, great to hear Kanyisa on the airwaves. Please say hey from Krista. Alyanda says, I tolerated a hug from a random sweet-looking harmless guy who appeared drunk at a mall. I didn't want to be rude. That was my mistake. By the time I got to my car, my phone was gone. It's still painful 6 years later. So be careful of those hugs as well. Be careful of those hugs.
And the next caller is none other than John in Polokwane. Hello, John.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Good.
Sure, John, you can go ahead.
Sure. Look, the funny one here is this guy, they sent him to go and buy, it was around Christmas time. They said he must go and buy chicken whole. He went out and then he was robbed by these other guys. They searched him and then they did not find anything. And then they took the hen.
They took the chicken.
Yeah, they took the chicken, the live one. And now the guy had to come back home and explain. And then you can understand, in a Christmas, we're waiting for Nama. The guy has been robbed of a chicken. He arrived there and he said to explain, to say, hey, I got this guy, they searched me, I didn't have a phone. They took that chicken.
That was triple trauma for the chicken.
Yeah, we couldn't believe the chap. The trial. No, bro, it's not possible.
It can't happen.
They can't take the chicken. And you know what? They took it, those guys. So we were just laughing, but it meant Christmas without chicken.
Yo.
John, thank you for the call. John there from Polokwane. We're going to continue to take your calls just after the MoneyWeb market update. 086 000 2032. Your voice notes on 0614 104 107. And you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. So the quarterly crime stats came out earlier on today. And now we're putting a humorous spin to the crime story. With your girl.
We want those stories.
With your girl, Kanyisa.
Yeah.
Who has been robbed so many times over phone.
Phones are very popular.
Let's call you Kanyisa Makhailo Queen. It's 5:30 time for the news headlines. Good afternoon, Greg.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Aldrin. In the headlines, the family of Agnes Sechwanso from a village outside Mahikeng in the northwest are calling for the law to take its course. This comes after she appeared briefly in court after one of her family members died earlier this year. Transnet Port Terminals has announced plans to suspend road freight to their Richards Bay port terminals, and the DA's described the water minister as ignorant and arrogant. We'll tell you why and other news at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
And a final traffic update with Rob Byrne.
Yeah, this is interesting. All of Gauteng's problems are going south this afternoon, so if you're heading north, you're generally okay. We'll start at Pretoria with a big backlog southbound N1 coming into Pumalani Plaza. That is roadworks, only one lane open. Further down, the N1 between Allendale and Buccleuch. N1 south is queuing towards Joburg due to a breakdown. The N3 south has a breakdown at London Road, so that backlog stays from Buccleuch. A crash on the Mike 1 south at Crown Interchange. That's heavy coming from Houghton Killarney side today into central Joburg. And a crash on the N14 going south at the Pine Haven Junction, holding traffic going into the Krugersdorp area. The crash on Durban's N2 south at Sibaya is cleared. It stays busy between Sibaya and the Gateway exit. Another crash on the southbound N2 at Spaghetti Junction, so that's heavy from as far back as Inunda Road today. And Cape Town, fairly gentle Friday afternoon. Traffic cleared the CBD a lot earlier. There is, though, a backlog on the M5 running southbound to Southfield and Parkwood. It's a crash on the M5 southbound just by Duval Road. Quite a heavy queue passing Ottery towards that scene. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
And a final sports update with Tuming Kapele. Yes. Girl from the burbs.
Listen, as I was saying off air, I actually have experienced a couple of crime incidents.
Yeah, now it's coming back. It's all coming back.
It's all coming back. Whether you're from the burbs or not.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You know, I was a bit like, hey, bro, really? How lucky must you be? But anyway. Let's look at where they're not stealing numbers.
Exactly. In your sports this hour, 10,000 tickets have been sold to the game, which will see Bafana Bafana host Benin and their opening 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier at Moses Mabhida Stadium tomorrow. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. And just looking at their group, which has the likes of Benin, Rwanda, Nigeria, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe, a better goal difference could be key. And ahead of tomorrow's game, Bruce says that he's wary of putting his team under unnecessary early pressure.
It's important, goal difference. We know it from last World Cup qualifiers. Yes, but I don't think you can start a game. Certainly not for these 2 games. And thinking, okay, we have to score as much as possible. Okay, we have to score as much as possible. And if we can win with 3-0, it's better than with 2-1. But this can be the main goal of a game. The main goal has to be to win it. So when you can win 2 times, you have 6 points. And then what the others do, that's their problem.
Wishing Bafana well for tomorrow's game. Meanwhile, Al Ahly star Percy Tau is one of the 10 nominees for the CAF Interclub Player of the Year award. Tau is nominated alongside Mamelodi Sundowns striker Peter Shalulile, and goalkeeper Ronan Williams is one of 5 nominees for Goalkeeper of the Year, while Sundowns have also been nominated for the Club of the Year. They will compete against the likes of USM Alger, Wydad Casablanca, Young Africans, and Al Ahly of Egypt. Meanwhile, Everton have been handed their heaviest points punishment in Premier League history. They've been docked 10 points with immediate effect for a breach of the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. And Everton say that they're shocked and very disappointed by the ruling and have vowed to appeal. Before these points were docked, Everton were sitting 14th on the log, 8 points above the bottom 3. So right now they're deep within relegation zone. And the big question right now is, since, well, their points are docked, what's going to happen with regards to Chelsea and Manchester City? Only time will tell. In rugby, the Sharks have been boosted by the return of Springbok centre Lukhanyo Am for their first home game of the season against Connacht tomorrow. Am is the only player amongst the Springboks who has been released to return to action for the Sharks as the Durban side face their third Irish opponent in 5 weeks. The Springboks start at outside centre with Francois Venter retaining the captaincy and shifting to inside centre. The only other change to the backline sees the return of Cohen Bosch to fly half after he recovered from a concussion. Then ending things off with motorsport, Mercedes face the prospect of the 2023 season being its first winless season in Formula One in 12 years. When the ground effects regulation switch was introduced in 2022, Mercedes struggled to replicate their success at the start of the hybrid era. And F1 is now in a period of dominance for Red Bull and Max Verstappen with 19 and 17 wins respectively from 20 races so far this season.
There is the team principle in me that dreads the race because it's totally different to what our car likes. Long straights, we are too slow because we are too draggy. It's cold in the night when we race and our car likes heat. We are just not able to have the right tire grip in the cold. So the team principle, the kind of narrow-minded racing person says that's going to be really difficult. But as the CEO of the team, fantastic. I mean, we are already in Miami. Austin has been super strong and loyal since the beginning. But coming here, seeing the track, the event itself that has been put up is very exciting.
On that note, it's a wrap from my side. Don't forget to tune in to Top Sport with Michael Abramson. That's from 7 till 8 p.m. Other than that, for SAFM Sport, I'm Duming Khapele, Mundi Mugio.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And it's time for a MoneyWeb market update with Jimmy Moyaha. Jimmy, good evening. Welcome to the show. Tell us about the markets.
Good evening, Aldrin. Good evening to the listeners. Interesting day on the markets. We're seeing some strength and some firmness on our local exchange. This is off the back of some weakness that we saw last week. So we returned to positivity this week. The Rand also closing out the week a lot better than we thought it would, which is always a good sign for us. I'm joined on the line by Wayne McCurry of FNB to take a look at some of the market movements. Good afternoon, Wayne. Thanks so much for taking the time. Anglo and Sasol amongst the biggest losers on the day, and Vodacom as well. But Sasol, obviously, we expected that AGM to take place today, and that didn't happen. Was that something that would have worried the market more?
I don't think so, actually. I'm surprised Sasol is down though, because the oil price is up slightly. But yes, as you said, we've had quite a good day today to end off a very good week. Market up about 0.25%, and it's really, well, in fact, it's right across the board. Richmond's up nicely, Kumba's up nicely. 91, the asset management company, after bringing out their results earlier on this week, didn't initially do so well, but they're up 4% today. On the downside, really just the platinum shares, and that's down 3%. Impala Platinum down 2%, and as we spoke about earlier on, Sasol down 2%.
Wayne, there's early expectations at this stage, if we look at the analyst poll, that next week's interest rate announcement from the SARB will be a hold and not another rate hike. Given what we've seen happen out of the US, what are your thoughts around how that's going to unfold? Because I know I'm not going to be able to catch up with you between now and when the rate hike is delivered.
No, we're not getting a rate hike. Considering what the rand
there we
doing,
go.
as we've spoken about, and equally as important, what the oil price and what the Federal Reserve did and the statements in the U.S. inflation numbers, there's no rate hike coming. So I think we've put the danger, hopefully, of higher rates behind us now, and we can look forward to interest rate cuts next year.
Going into the rest of the year, Wayne, are there any stocks in particular that you think might be benefiting from a relaxation in the overall geopolitical situations or the macro situations around the world?
Well, it's really our whole index. Our whole index is incredibly cheap. I mean, it's of the cheapest I've ever seen it. And when you look just one level further down, it's the mining shares, other than gold, that truly are cheap. So, and they're cheap for very good reasons, because we're in a commodity down cycle. So whenever commodity prices fall, like iron ore and coal and all the stuff we export, platinum, palladium, the rand weakens, the economy does badly, and our share market does badly. So that's been the case for 2 years now. But of course, that cycle can turn, and I think it is turning, and it turns for the positive. So over the next 2-3 years, we can look forward to a strong rand, a good share market, and improving economic conditions, and also for our government, increased tax revenue, because the mining companies should, over that period, start making much higher profits again. So we've gone through the bad part of the cycle. Hopefully we can look forward to the good part of the cycle. And by the end of the year, I don't know. That's such a short time period. You know, we saw literally 2 weeks ago that everything was doom and gloom and interest rates were still going up. And a week later, we're talking about interest rate cuts and no more increases in our stock market. You know, it was below 70,000. It's now 74,000. So it just shows you in a very short space of time how things can turn either positive or negative on the share market.
Absolutely. And it's on that note that we will leave that conversation there. We'll definitely pick it up next week as we start to look at what to prepare for 2024, potentially in 2025, given that the outlook for the coming couple of years is going to be positive. Thanks so much for that update, Wayne. That was Wayne McCurry of FNB, giving us a sense of what his thoughts are on the markets. In terms of some of the other stories that have been developing, Aldrin, I've been keeping an eye on Transnet, and it looks as though we're going to have a media briefing on Monday from Transnet, at least from the Durban ports terminals side. There was conversations earlier today around the possibility of them halting trucks and truck activity into the port because of the backlog and the congestion, and trying to clear that through. That's going to be a very interesting development, because the road trucks are pretty much the only resource that mining companies and other agricultural companies have to get their commodities into port, given that Transnet's rail system is not exactly functioning at 100%. So we're expecting a media briefing around 11:30 on that on Monday. I'll be keeping an eye out for that and attending that, and then giving the listeners some updates there through your show and through into my show. So that's what we've got to look forward to next week. But for this week, we take the positive wins with the rand coming down and our all share index finishing another week in the green.
Thank you so much. That is... what happened there? Did it just got cut off?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought that we lost you there, Jimmy. Okay, so you're done. So you're done, Jimmy?
Yeah. So
Okay.
we'll catch up with the listeners next week, and we'll give that update on Transnet next week once we know more.
Okay, perfect. Enjoy the weekend. Jimmy Moyaha there. Back again next week, Monday. 0614-104-107. We're taking your calls on 086-000-2032. And you can also drop me a voice note on 0614-104-107. My co-host this evening is Khanyisa Punu, who is an award-winning comedian. And we're looking at the funnier side of crime. Is there such a thing?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
I think it's the English. When it's fresh, it's not funny, but as time goes on, you are able to see the funny side of it.
Okay. NgesiXhosa.
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 Okuye ixesha lihamba, okuye ubona uba hayi kodwa yayihlekisa la.
Catch the Insider SA this Monday evening at 6 as pastry chef Sahil Sigabin bakes up a festival of Diwali treats.
And I hope you have a blessed one.
Rudy Page passes his rugby passions onto his family.
I'm beyond proud of my dad. My dad played for my country.
And Loyiso Gijana put his all into music.
That's what has communicated with people, is because I'm writing from my heart.
That's the Insider SA this Monday evening at 6. Repeat Saturday at 1 p.m. and Sunday morning at 9 on S3.
Black Friday is back at Dis-Chem. Now for 9 days, from Wednesday 22nd to Thursday 30th November. Make the most of big offers and huge savings. Get down to Black Friday at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
Pakishani. We are going to Durban when Bafana face Benin in the FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifiers. On Saturday, 18 November at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Gates open at 12 p.m. and tickets are available for 50 Rand for adults and 20 Rand for children at Ticket Pro. Come dressed in your national colors to support Bafana to win prizes. If you are not in Durban, catch the game on SABC 1 at 3 p.m. Also available on sabcsport.com.
Gautrain is for the legends who make moves to save and pay from as little as 40 Rand from Sandton to Rhodesfield. It's for the bozzers who switch off the geyser when no one's home. And for our clever who get that there's food at home means exactly that. So when it comes to travel, make moves that save and pay from as little as 40 Rand from Sandton to Rhodesfield Station. Gautrain, for people on the move.
Have you seen our upgraded currency with enhanced security features? Identifying a genuine banknote is easy. Just look, feel and tilt. Hold the banknote against the light and look for the Big 5 watermark unique to each denomination. Feel the race print on Madiba's portrait and tilt to see the security thread change color. For more, download the SA Reserve Bank Currency app and spend your money with confidence. Our money, our pride. SA Reserve Bank, connecting us.
28 years ago, two great outfits of global rugby met in the Rugby World Cup final.
The Springboks and the All Blacks.
The Boks had a good day in the office in 1995 and lifted the Webb Ellis Cup on home soil. Amabokoboko have silenced the All Blacks once again.
At the Rugby World Cup Final France 2023 in search of their fourth title. La la, Zanzi Africa.
Back-to-back victors and four-time champions of the Rugby World Cup.
An extra seat has been booked for a flight back to Africa Tonga for the Webb Ellis Cup to travel with the world's best rugby national team. Amabokoboko. Congratulations to the Springboks.
Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
So here's that voice note.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. Flores again here from the Western Cape. Aldrin, I just love that actor / geography teacher. But let me tell you, Aldrin, we underestimate comedians in this country. Those guys are extremely educated and literate. That's very good. It's
Yeah.
very good. They always have something to fall back on. I just heard it now, quickly, pulling a fast one on you about the weather. So yeah, that's how sharp these guys is. That's why they are so prosperous in
Yeah.
what they're doing. Yeah, just hope the events managers will pay them a little bit more, because they're making us laugh when the government on this country is making us cry. Have a good job. Bye.
Wow, thank you.
I have to say though, he's right. I find that comedians are extremely intelligent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say I find that about other comedians as well. Yeah, we are.
Not you.
Not exactly. I
You
hope
find that with
someone
others?
finds that about me. But when I listen to some, there are those comedians who feel good at this one. Is very intelligent.
Mkheleke.
Yeah, akazanga nje uba usejobhini.
So let's continue to take your voice notes and your call 086 000 2032 and your voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Wow. And we
Hey,
have
Aldrin, my crime experience in Joburg, I woke up one day and my car was gone. I looked, because I actually thought I was dreaming. I opened the gate and I looked for it inside the drain.
Yeah?
Because I could not believe ukuthi imoto yami vele yanyamalala nje.
How big was the drain?
Ngayifuna aze ngavula my wardrobe.
Yeah.
Imoto yami was gone.
Mm.
And funny thing about this is that driving to Empire a few years later, I actually saw the door of my car
No
in
ways.
another car.
No
Because
ways.
I was once traveling on N3 and I was hit by a stone and never fixed that scratch. It was a very unique scratch. And I saw the door of my car on another car, actually, fitted. And I followed this car and it entered KPMG somewhere there on Empire. I was so shocked.
And
Thanks,
then didn't
Bongi.
you say Mnyangwam?
My door.
Hello, Aldrin. How are you, brah? This is Musukisi here in abroad. Aldrin, there was this old Madala. Whenever he gets his pension money, month, there were guys who were waiting for him on his way back home. They robbed the money. They robbed his money. Every month, they try by all means to see where is he going to get paid. Now this Madara, he made a plan. He put that money in the bread. He cut the bread, he put the money in between. So when they wanted to rob him, they said, this Madara is too much of him. Now today we are going to take the bread only. Let's leave him. Hey, this Madara thought this is a juju.
So you've heard that joke before, yeah?
Yeah. I know. And we have another caller all the way from KZN, and I like her name is Admire. Admire, are you there?
Yes. Waiting.
And I said her instead of him. His name.
Yeah, I say him.
Okay.
So, just two quick ones. My first experience with in the hands of criminals, I should say con men. They saw me coming from an ATM. I was still a student then, back in Zimbabwe. So as I was walking down the street, someone just came in front of me, dropped a big block of money, like a big brick of money, and I was like, I'm rich. So as I was picking that brick, another guy came and we saw this together, so let's go and share.
Sure.
Little did I know, we took our way to share the money, to share the spoils, and along the way he was busy asking me, so where are you going, what are you doing in life and all that. I explained all that to him. When I started suspecting, because he was now taking me to like a park, that's when I became a bit suspicious, and there were 4 of them already.
Yeah.
They took everything that I had, and I ended up boarding a bus with no money, asking for a pay forward in the bus. So all the little that I had withdrawn for my bus fare was gone. Then the second one, it was recently on my way to Zimbabwe around Polokwane, Limpopo area. I think I'm forgetting the name of the place. Olibuahom. We had a tire puncture on the taxi that I was traveling in. Then while we were fixing the tire puncture, while we were replacing the punched tire, then these guys came in one of those old Fords. It was driven by a lady, and there was one guy in the front seat and two guys with a little child on the back seat. So I actually walked towards their car just to tell them how we are fine. And I wasn't suspecting anything, seeing the lady driving the car and like a grade 7 boy in the back seat. As soon as I was approaching their car, the three of the guys were out with guns, and I was on the ground. They took everything that we had. Then last quick one, Pinetown area, I saw this one happening. They saw this guy who had a very nice iPhone, which they were targeting. So one guy held this iPhone holder by the throat. The other two lifted his legs up in the air. So the guy was like up in the air. As he was up in the air, the other one started searching his pockets. After that, they just dropped him, like they just let go of him from like their chest height straight to the ground, and they ran away.
Shucks, man.
That was,
I hope, though, Admire, that from the first story you learned that greed will deal with you.
I learned it the hard way.
Okay.
So even if I see someone who's like offering me something, I always
so
think
no me
first
10
time,
rand we bona pants sukuyithatha.
it's not mine.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. Thank you so much, Admire, there from Kozu. No, unfortunately, Admire, we've run out of time. Jeez, Admire's got so many stories.
Admire should write a book.
You should write a book. You should write a book. Okay, before we do our parting shot, remember that this coming weekend, actually, we were asking a bit earlier on that if you are free, if you want to come and join us at Mapungubwe National Park, that is in Limpopo. So we're giving away a double ticket. This person will be joining us on tomorrow. That's on Sunday, Monday, as well as Tuesday. All expenses paid for, everything covered. And we have our winner, and who will be joining us on Sunday. Let's quickly go to Joe. Joe Sono, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Congratulations. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Adrian.
Congratulations, Joe. Well done.
Thank you very much, Adrian.
Okay, so you got the answer right. What was the answer?
Mapungubwe is sharing the borders with Botswana and Zimbabwe.
Yes, well done. And therefore, you will be joining us. Thank you so much. That is Joe Sono who will be joining us this coming weekend in Mapungubwe. And this is brought to us by St. Parks. We will be broadcasting live from there as well on Sunday. Let's quickly move over.
I wanted to ask if his name is Joe Sono or Jomo Sono.
It's Joe.
Oh, okay.
It's Joe.
Then maybe it's a pet name for Jomo Sono.
Tell us about your weekend.
This weekend, tomorrow, I'm in Cape Town, Baxter Theatre. We're doing a show called Keeping Up with the Xhosas. And then next week, I'm in Durban for a show called Women in Comedy.
A nice one.
Yeah, and then on the 30th, I'm in Sentin. We're doing we're celebrating, I don't know if you know Tips, the comedian is...
Yes.
Yeah, he's been 15 years in the industry, so because we started together and so you think you're funny, so we are celebrating. It's a free show, actually.
Okay.
At Tower Hotel. It's going to be a nice show. Myself, Tips and Tosh.
Okay, I'm definitely coming to that one. Thank you so much for being an incredible co-host.
Because it's a free one.
Thank you so much for being an incredible...
Thank you for
Yes, I'll come because it's
me.
free.
You coached me, actually.
And you did well.
Yeah, thank you.
For geography teacher, I'm
Wow,
very impressed.
I thought we were going to ask him about cyclones. I prepared.
No. We've come to the end of our voyage. Thank you so much for choosing Flight SAFM BTH 326 with me, Aldrin Sampear. Today, we are leaving you with the words of the Dalai Lama.
And he once said, it is not enough to be compassionate. You must act.
You must act.
Amandla.
Away too. And the song that we're leaving you with is Harrison Crumb, Ride. And our credits this evening are read by Kolisa.
That was quick.
To you behind the mic, Aldrin Sampear, and doing me on the spot desk, the production team, Temba, Kaya, Husani, Mark, and Lundi. Good night, guys. It was great to have you tonight. Bye.
#SAFMBTH. You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
And remember to love each other and lead with compassion. Totsins, enjoy the rest of your evening and have a beautiful weekend.